However, good news is that we're slowly approaching the 1 million recovered cases mark at 922,389. Those are the number of cases that have recovered fully in the world so far. All right, if we look at it by country now and see how things may have changed or remained the same, still very high numbers in the United States. They have crossed the 1 million case mark. 1,010,507 cases in the US now. And so what they're saying now is that 1 in every 20 cases of coronavirus have died. Okay, 5% of the total number are deaths. Spain, 229,422 with 23,000 deaths. Italy at 199,404 with 26,977 deaths. 165,000 cases in France, 158,758 cases in Germany. 157,000, the same number of cases in the UK as in Germany. However, in the UK, 21,092 deaths, and in Germany, 6,126 deaths. So 4 times the number of deaths in the UK with the same number of cases than in Germany. All right.
Wait, how many deaths in the US?
In the US, 56,803.
Germany?
In Germany, 6,126.
In UK?
21,092. And the same number of cases in Germany as is the UK.
Italy?
Italy, the number of deaths, 26,977. Spain, 229,422. Deaths, 23,521 in Spain, and deaths in Italy at 26,977.
These countries that you've mentioned, have we seen a significant decline in the number of people dying or being hospitalized since they enacted the lockdown?
Unfortunately, not in Spain and Italy. In Spain and Italy, the numbers they're on a decline now. However, they're not going below the 500 a day death mark. So
when they peaked, they were at what, 900?
When they peaked, they were at about 800, 900 deaths a day.
Okay.
Right now, they're about 450, 500 deaths per day. But that
is a reduction, is it not?
And significantly. I mean, 300 people dying a day is a reduction, and it's significant.
And if you look across in the UK, have they had a reduction, a decline, or have they had an upsurge?
They've hit, right now in the UK, in the number of deaths, they've hit what they're calling the plateau now. So they're looking at about 500, 400 deaths per day, and that has remained steady.
Where I'm going with my line of inquiry is this. It is clear that when a lockdown has been put in play, you actually see a reduction in the numbers of people who were previously A, infected, and B, dying. It's clear, right? So then why, in the face of this evidence, why would you then want to open up your country to the very same thing that brought these people to the point where they were peaking at 100 deaths a day? Why would you want to do this?
Why would you want to?
And it is clear that when you've initiated strict measures, the numbers of those A, infected or reported infected, and you're increasing your testing, and the number of those who are actually dying has reduced. Why? What is this logic?
Okay, so let's also look, if we are just to follow that argument to its logical conclusion, as you say, let's also look at the countries where the measures are not as strict as in these particular countries that you just mentioned.
Okay.
The Scandinavian countries. Even Germany is not as strict as the neighbors.
No.
So,
Well, the thing that what Germany is doing is that they've been very clear on the measures to be taken. And so what they focused on is the healthcare system, and especially home health care, right? And the same thing that Sweden has done, where Sweden has 18,926 cases with 2,274 deaths. Now, them also being one of the countries that said, look, this is what we suggest that you should do. We're not going to shut anything down per se. Measures have not been so strict. However, this is what we suggest that you do so that we can keep this thing at bay.
How has their graph looked like? Has it been like on a steady decline or a sharp incline?
They actually didn't have a sharp incline. Things just kind of went, yes, they did go up, but then they steadied after some time with recording of only 2,274 deaths. Out of the 18,000 cases.
Out of 18,000 cases.
Okay. And so they've been able to keep that at...
And their testing is rigorous.
Yes, rigorous testing.
And they are at 18,000.
Yes.
Right.
Now, if you want to look at Denmark, their neighbor just west, 8,698 cases with 427 deaths. And they've done more or less the same thing that Sweden has done. All right. And they're on the higher. Finland with 4,695 cases and 193 deaths. Okay, so if we want to look at the Scandinavian countries, this is what they've been able to do. Let's look at another country that is sometimes considered Scandinavia, but sometimes plays outside of those lines. The Netherlands, 38,245 cases with 45,018 deaths. They never went into real rigorous lockdown, but look at their numbers, right? In terms of hearing what it is that they did or not or did not do. They were not strict in the beginning. They became stricter later, and then you saw a reduction in the cases that they have. So there's an example of where it would actually have worked, because they would have been up there in the hundreds of thousands, just like the United Kingdom. But that didn't happen. The lockdown came later on. So yeah, we talked about Denmark and we talked about Finland as well, and then seeing what Sweden has been able to do there. So yeah, if we want to look at,
but also there's the other thing that maybe we ought to consider is how early some of these measures were put in place by the governments, right? At what stage of their infection and the spread of infection were some of these measures instituted?
Well, looking at the measures, whether it was strict or not, safe to say that everybody put in measures after they had already realized some cases of infection in their country.
Yep.
There are very few countries around the globe, just from what we've been able to see, that and specifically Botswana, and interestingly in Africa, Botswana, Sierra Leone, and then on the other side of the world, North Korea, who said, we're not even waiting for this thing to come. We're putting measures in place now. Most of the countries in the world, unfortunately, the measures were put in after they had realized some cases, and unfortunately, after some deaths had been realized as well.
So Africa,
all right, so
still hovering around the same numbers.
Yeah, still really around the same numbers. Kenya crossing 360 yesterday. Tanzania 299 still. Tanzania did not recognize any new cases yesterday. The testing is, again, still a bit iffy. However, between Sunday and today being Tuesday, still at 299 with 10 deaths.
Uganda.
Rwanda at 207, 0 deaths. If you want to look, Ethiopia, 124 cases still with 3 deaths. Okay, I'm looking at the numbers for Uganda in a minute. Uganda has disappeared. But we'll find them in a bit.
Because Uganda went into serious institution of measures immediately as soon as they just got a whiff of something happening. They went into full proper lockdown.
Yes, they
in
did.
Uganda, just like in Rwanda. But Uganda's numbers are still less than 100.
Yes, Uganda yesterday was at 79, today at 81, and with 0 deaths. All right, so they're not their lockdown. It worked, so if we can say. If you want to project, even if it is early, their lockdown measures worked and worked brilliantly. So they were not joking with this.
But also,
at all.
okay, on the other hand, also their testing regime is still. They're not going into mass testing and all those things.
No, they're not. So, I'm going to go back on what I just said. 81 cases was the next country, which was which was Barbados. But Uganda is still at 79 cases.
79 cases.
They were at 79 yesterday, still at 79 cases and 0 deaths.
And staying there.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll have that discussion again as we, of course, look at the measures that the governments around Africa. Nigeria. Hey, interesting. Before we move, Nigeria, how is it?
1,200 and some odd cases.
1,200.
Yes.
With how many deaths?
Okay, so I'm going to go into that in a bit. Let me just go back to the numbers. I should know this off head, but...
and this has been more than a month since the
first case was found on the 20th of February.
There you go. 20th of February.
Yeah. And
we're at still at 1,000, below 2,000.
Yeah, and we just got to the 2,000. Well, quite. I mean, we just got to the 1,000. So 1,337 cases in Nigeria with 40 deaths so far. And it's interesting that Kano pops out now. Kano being one of the northern states, before you had seen that the majority of cases were in the capital territory, of course, with a lot of movement there, which is right in the middle of the country. And then in Lagos, which is southwest of the country, it's a port city. And then neighboring towns, or rather neighboring states to Lagos. So there was Ogun State, Osun State, Oyo State, who then saw some cases. Now, Kano is in the northern eastern part of the country. So the question comes up, what on earth is happening in Kano?
So what happened? There was a spike in numbers, or what is it?
Yeah, I mean, there was a spike in numbers. There was one case, and then suddenly there was 3, and then out of the blue, there were 50 cases in Kano. So this is the thing we're still trying to figure out exactly what happened. Kano is a commercial state as well, so there's a lot of trade back and forth. However, it's interesting that this happened after lockdown was
And it's not at
instituted.
the border with any other country?
No, Kano is not a border state.
Middle.
It's right there in the middle. Okay.
So it's
Okay.
strange.
Okay.
Eric, remember one of the things that we've discussed in this show is the peculiarity of any new disease. Just when you think you figured this out, something else will come up and you'll be wondering, now how on earth do you explain this? This is just the norm when it comes to the phenomenon that you find with new diseases.
Yeah.
You understand certain things and other things come out. That's why, yes, you can give measures, but they're usually temporary as we await new findings.
As you observe.
As you observe, because you really don't know everything. The moment you talk to me about an increase in number of infections, I ask, have they increased their testing? Then you'll tell me no. Then I'm stuck. So if they haven't increased their testing, then how is it that more people are exhibiting? Then there's a question like the one that we've had in the US, where you're being asked, right, we've done an autopsy on people who probably died around this period in time. COVID wasn't even a problem then. And you find that they actually died of COVID. So you then have to ask, okay, it was flu season. How far back do we need to go to understand this thing now?
It.
Yes. So the questions are good, but it gives you a clear indication that there are still many things that we don't know about COVID-19. Yes.
All right, let's go into the break. But as we head there, CT, today's proverb.
Yes, very good indeed. He who is unable to dance says that the yard is stony. He who is unable to dance says that the yard is stony. This is a Maasai proverb.
You've heard it in many other Kenyan tribes as well, even I think in Swahili pia.
In fact, the Swahili proverb that comes close to it, but it's a difference is mchagua jembe sio mkulima. Because now, okay, it's not your feet. It's not
There's
your
something
ability.
about mchezangoma and
Yes, there is. There is one.
So he who does not know how to dance.
You blame this bloody hard. How can it be full of so many stones? I tell you.
It's rocky.
It's rocky.
It's a rocky
How do you
ground.
expect me to dance on this rocky
If
thing?
it was a smooth, if you had
I would
seen
have
me,
shown you dance,
Could
you'd have
seen.
known.
Would have seen.
17 minutes after 6 o'clock, this is the situation. It's Kenya's biggest conversation. Thank you very much for tuning in. Shortly, we'll be taking a look at newspaper headlines.
"24/7 around the world, non-stop. This is Spice FM. Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise.
You're listening to Spice FM.
All right, taking a look at what's going on weather-wise around the world today. 14 degrees in Nairobi today and clear conditions this morning. A chance of rain very high and to step in quite early with highs of 24 and lows of 14. Nyeri at 16 degrees is going to be mostly cloudy today. We'll see some rain showers later with highs of 24. Taking a look then into Nakuru, it's 14 degrees this morning. Highs of 24 today and it'll be mostly cloudy before that sets in. In Eldoret at 13 degrees, partly cloudy conditions. The rain will cool it down even further. We'll see highs just of 22 and lows of 11. Kisumu at 18 degrees is going to be clear this morning, giving away to afternoons of rain. Highs of 28 and lows of 18. Malindi, it's raining light rain showers this morning at 26 degrees. We'll see highs of 29 and lows of 25 with continued showers throughout the day. The same is in Mombasa. Light showers already being experienced, giving way to thunderstorms later and highs of 29. In Dar es Salaam at 25 degrees, it's cloudy conditions. Thunderstorms are forecasted for the afternoon with highs of 30 and lows of 24. It's 20 degrees in Kampala and cloudy this morning. All indications that rain will come in early, highs of 25 and lows of 19. Taking a peek into Joburg, it's partly cloudy at 10 degrees this morning, highs of 13 and lows of 9 with thunderstorms throughout the day. In Lagos at 26 degrees, it's clear skies with some clouds today, highs of 33 and lows of 26 with imminent rains for later parts of the evening. In New York at 7 degrees, it's cloudy conditions all through. It'll clear up though, highs of 10 and lows of 5. Paris weather is 14 degrees and cloudy this morning. There's a high chance of rain and the thunderstorm warning is at yellow, highs of 19 and lows of 11. And finally in London at 10 degrees, light rain showers being experienced will carry on through most of the day with highs of 11 and lows of 5.
Twenty-two minutes after 6 o'clock. Thank you very much for tuning in to Spice FM.
Mature, intelligent talk
Nairobi,
every
Mombasa,
morning.
87.9,
Spice up yourself.
106.5 in Kisumu, 96.0 Nakuru, 96.7 Eldoret, 90.9 Nyeri and Malindi, 97.1.
Mornings
live stream
done right. 94.4 Spice
Also
FM,
live stream the
Nairobi.
show on video, Spice FM KE YouTube, Spice FM KE Facebook and Twitter. Let's take a look at the newspaper headlines. What do you have, CT?
What I have, the headline is actually fairly interesting. Why did judges allow state to spy on your calls?
And texts.
Sasa hii,
Hey.
this one is something that requires some very serious debate. But of interest and close to what we were discussing yesterday, why will you pay tuition fees even when schools are closed?
So who's saying this?
Well, there is this little thing. It's a discussion that's going on between the parent organizations that sort of like house secondary schools. We've had Akina, the people who, Kupet, have spoken. Those who manage the private schools have spoken. The debate has begun in earnest. And the discussions are, well, you know, there are demands that need to be met. There are people who don't only teach, there are people who work in the school compound to ensure this and the other. The others were saying, yes, we understand, but please bear in mind the children are no longer in school. This water that you speak of, there's no one to consume that water, electricity. There's no one to consume this electricity.
Yeah.
And you're talking about the watchmen, reduce them. You're talking about people who have to clean, let them come once a week. It's an ongoing debate. And also among the things that are being said was, see, education is one of these things that you prepay for. So it's not as though when you're given an understanding and an allowance, you pay per month. But ordinarily you pay ahead, you pay per term. So essentially, you had prepaid for this thing. Even when children were on holiday, you had already paid the full fees.
Yeah.
So this matter of paying fees now, explain it to us again so that we understand. What are we paying for? Then there are schools who've already indicated they're reducing the fees.
Yep.
Some by 25%, some by 20%. So this is a lovely ongoing debate.
This one we need to delve deeper into it.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
maybe speak to a couple of parents and the school heads and the private
That we
private
need to
schools
do.
associations to get the argument from all sides.
Yes, we do.
Of course, everybody is looking at where they can save a shilling because the source of that shilling has disappeared. And when schools are also looking at how they can also save their shilling because that's their only source of income, school fees. Now, you still have staff that you're paying. You still have people who are coming to work in some cases, teachers who maybe they're not coming to work, but they're still offering tuition via online. So how do you balance that? However, with schools holiday having been extended by a further 30 days, so what is this that exactly you're paying for?
That's the question.
Why are you paying tuition fees during holiday?
Because it was clear, in no uncertain terms, it was clear. Magoha said, we are extending the holiday, right? So for 30 days, it wasn't that for 30 days we're saying school at home. We're saying there's a holiday for 30
extended
days.
for 30 days.
So why is there learning taking place during the holiday? That would be
What's
the
tuition fee are you paying, right?
Yeah.
And then the school, of course, association will say, but the teachers are still our employees. We need to pay them.
But I have yesterday
are you-
alone,
are
a
you
lot of
telling
parents
us-
told me that's not my business.
Are you telling us that we should tell the teachers now, listen, you're going on unpaid leave for the next 30 days, which is something that could be discussed.
Why not?
Something that could be discussed.
This is something, everything has to be discussed right now because these are normal times. So if you are trying to sort of like put into play logic that would apply in normal times when there's no COVID, that argument really has to fall flat on its face even before you began putting it forward.
Yeah.
These are not normal times.
It isn't.
So you can't talk about normal measures
I
in abnormal times.
I haven't heard any of those schools, private, talking about what measures they've taken to cut back on their own costs. What they're doing is they're offering a discount of 20% for junior school, 30%, 15% for seniors. But they're not saying that, the measures that we've taken is, for example, we've instituted pay cuts for our staff. Or we've had to let go of a couple of this and the other.
Of course, they're not going to do that because they're expecting that the parents are going to pay fees for this tuition that they've put in place when it's supposed to be holiday time. You may see that if the pushback then becomes strong enough and they realize, okay, hold on, this money that we may have banked on to do these certain things, then we're not going to be able to do it. And then you may see those measures be put in
That
place
pushback
thereafter.
can be avoided because the reason why you have this parents association, the reason why you have
The PTA,
is,
the BUM.
is so that such things can be ironed out. Don't start with edicts. Every school has its PA, it has its, call these people together.
Yeah.
That's why they're there. They represent they're representatives of the other parents. Let that conversation begin.
I think where it is, and of course, it's never too late to tail back. But I think where it is now is that parents have already received invoices, right? In a lot of cases, have received invoices for this second
They will
term.
get pushback.
Yes, so pushback has already begun. And the same questions that we're raising here, parents are already saying, what am I paying for?
What exactly is
What
it that you're
services are being
what-
rendered that
what
I'm
are you
paying for?
asking for?
And these questions already started coming up before the announcement was then made on Sunday. Now the announcement was made on Sunday. They said,
Shauri yako.
definitely not paying.
International schools also came up with those measures. Let's offer you some discount here and there. The parents in those international schools, serious pushback. Letters from Rusinga, Banda, Kenton College. This is from St. Christopher's. All of them,
The list
Brookhouse.
goes on.
The list goes on. Some of them are even threatening court action.
Yeah.
And they've signed up and said, look, so you're telling us 20%. Justify. We expect a 60% reduction in school fees. 60. Some of them are demanding as far much as 60% reduction.
If you
I'm
you
saying
actually get to hear the money his parents pay in these schools,
Yeah.
hey,
It's not for jokes.
It's for,
Man.
it's for sitting down and washing your head with
It's
yes,
not
it
for
is
jokes.
a serious investment, very serious. So these parents are clearly people who either do business, but whatever it is they do, it isn't business as usual for them.
Yep.
So even the income that they have, for sure, these incomes have reduced.
Yep.
And then they do the math and say, wait a moment. My child, I paid fees for the whole term. 1.5 months of that term, my child was not
My
in
child
school.
was not in school.
Somebody asked me to pay again.
And then they told us that the holiday has been extended. Imagine
Shauri
that
yenu.
thing, Joe.
No.
This is a letter by Brookhouse parents to the school administration. Among the things that they've said is we humbly request to consider the following: that the school the school extends up to 60% discount on tuition fees for the April term in response to COVID-19, taking into consideration the impact of the pandemic on the economy. Right? Those are issues have not been discussed. Teachers, parents from Banda School went as far as actually even coming up with a poll. They conducted a poll amongst themselves, and the number of things that they came up with, were saying, look, we have sought, even Kenton College, we have spoken to the entire parent fraternity, and we have, segmented what they have said. Many of them are running businesses, and they have lost incomes. So you need to consider that these people have lost incomes. There's only about 15% have written back and indicated they have no problem paying school fees. They are not affected. They are okay. They are able to pay school fees. Up to 60% have said, we cannot afford. We need
this
you to
conversation
consider.
that Eric is talking about is actually very appropriate and timely. But even the schools should have this conversation with their teachers. Where the problem arises...
It ought to start there.
Yes, where the problem arises, these teachers are in touch with the parents. Because they
know what the heartbeat is.
They know. Now, if you have a chat with the teachers will tell you what they think. They'll tell you, well, maybe we should go back and talk among ourselves. Meaning, it is a 360 discussion. So everyone involved in the education of a child is spoken to. But when you start by deciding for them, man, you are running straight into troubled waters.
Things are going to get thick.
They'll keep quiet for a minute, and then they'll realize, and then it will be a community realization.
And then they come together. Once they've come
together, you're sunk.
Forget it.
Once they've come together, like all of them now signing, those parents coming together and saying, so we, the parents, are telling you this. So what are you going to do?
Do you know this is a conversation?
You tell them no, they just say we are not coming to school.
That first half of the month when we are still worrying about what COVID is, what we should do.
Yeah.
The conversation should have started
at that point. At that point. In fact, the conversation should have happened, at that point. Call you guys, form yourselves, form representatives.
This is what we have.
And the
we
board.
Need to discuss this.
Let's come. Let's start working together. Let's show you these are our costs.
Unfortunately for many school managements, however, I think what they did was that they believed that they would send forth this communication, and all parents would accept it and say, we understand the times in which we are in. We accept what it is that you have said to us, and we will accept. No.
It's like the same conversation of landlords not coming together to say, this is what we'd like to do. Landlords are still waiting. It's going to hit them hard because people will not pay.
Yes, and are you going to move all of them?
Kick me out. Who are you going to get anyway?
Yes.
I've been your tenant for X number of years or X number of months. If I get out, nobody's coming to pay that rent that you're asking for. So, tough. Shauri yako. 6:30. This is a situation of Kenya's biggest conversation. Remember, you can download the Standard e-paper app from Google Play Store and Apple App Store. Just one subscription fee. You can choose to make it monthly, quarterly, or annually, and then you get to access the Standard newspaper from wherever you are. The Standard e-paper gives you the Standard newspaper as it is, but just on the digital platform. Shortly, I'll also be giving you the numbers to call if you'd like the hard copy of the Standard newspaper delivered to you anywhere around the country. Good morning. Let's take a look at the traffic shortly.
So GSU right around Daystar on Mombasa Road, heavy screening is taking place. It's causing a little bit of a traffic jam this morning, and then following through down Mombasa Road to the SGR. You have a little bit of a hold up right around Cabanas, but you'll be fine right after that. Masks up, guys. It's a bit foggy also on Mombasa Road, so fog lights up and masks as well. Thika Road today looks really good already. Not much traffic there. More and more vehicles on the roads this morning as we see it. A little bit of a hold-up getting into the CBD right around the Globe Cinema roundabout. But apart from that, everything looks okay. Still early times for traffic in the day and age in which we are in. Let's see what it looks like in a short while. You know the handle. SpiceFMKE on Twitter. Let's see what you see. We'll give you more information as to what the roads look like in the city and around the country in a short bit.
let's take a look at the nations. There are political headlines in those newspapers. We'll touch on them later.
Virus fight in crisis over strike threat. This is the headline on the Daily Nation today. As Kenyans are lining up to clap for frontline medical staff, lack of protective gear and risk allowance drives them to the point of work boycott. As if the problems were not bad enough. Number one, list of grievances. Welfare workers say they had asked for 30,000 shillings risk allowance, and only doctors were awarded the cash while the rest were left out. Protection. Some say that they have not been issued with personal protective equipment, yet they are handling patients suspected to be infected. Insurance. Workers say they do not have comprehensive medical insurance despite being critical stakeholders in service delivery. Healthcare givers say President Uhuru Kenyatta should acknowledge they have a stake in the welfare package that he announced. So there's a list of grievances, and it's welfare, protection, insurance, and recognition. So they go on to say, essentially, that if these conditions continue, if the status quo is maintained,
who are these workers
they
that
will
we're
go on
talking about?
strike. So what it is that health professionals who are asking for improved conditions would paralyze operations in hospitals and quarantine centers at a time when the country is battling the COVID-19 pandemic. So it's nurses, clinical officers, pharmaceutical technicians, and other cadres of the health workforce are asking the national and county governments to enhance their safety and welfare. Their umbrella organization, the Kenya Health Professional Society, is set to issue a strike notice tomorrow as a measure of last resort to have the workers' grievances addressed. The workers said they want what everyone else wants during the worst pandemic of the century, and that is safety.
Okay,
so doctors have been looked at. The rest, nurses, clinical officers,
have
pharmacists.
doctors received the money?
From this, they have.
We'll ask Mercy later on to tell us whether they received this
So
money.
here's the issue, though. Now, a couple of things are coming out of this. One, they're asking for recognition. So they just basically want to be called. So we have been talking about healthcare workers. They want to be called by name.
No,
Workers.
I think recognition
What is
here isn't that Nani, I see you exist. No, it's not that. It is more when things have been done well. You know, there are organizations that have employee of the week, employee of the month, employee of the day. Recognition that in this fight against COVID, our cadre of clinical health assistants, our cadre of registered nurses, our cadre of have this is what.
So they want a profession mentioned.
Yes, it's recognition because you talk about the fight against.
We talk about healthcare workers.
Yeah,
Come on,
no.
guys.
Then people talk about doctors. The doctors hog the bulk of
For most
their
people, when you
colleagues.
talk about healthcare workers, the
think
first
doctor.
that comes is doctor.
Of course, the first thing that comes to that is doctor, but you also know that there are other healthcare workers.
Yeah, but
That's
they're
what
not-
they're saying. That
So you
people
want the
don't
president
know.
to be going there and mentioning fellow Kenyans,
All
lab
the doctors,
technicians,
nurses, clinical
nurses.
officers, yes.
Yes.
No,
That's what
no,
they
no,
want.
no, no,
Yes.
no. But the president does not say doctors.
But this
The
is the
president
thing, because
says
the
healthcare
preconception-
workers,
Eric,
our frontline soldiers
the
are
Eric,
preconception
most
is that-
people-
The
when you say-
preconception is that health worker
Now you want to go on
doctor.
strike because you are not mentioned.
It's one of the
this is
reasons.
This
It's
throwing
one
a
of the
tantrum.
No,
This
it
is
isn't.
one. Yes,
Eric, it isn't throwing a tantrum.
it is throwing a tantrum, Bana.
Eric, the people who keep our hospitals running are not the doctors.
Okay, they're not. Sawa.
Okay.
Yes.
Do most people know this? The answer is no.
Yeah. So
When someone seeks or asks for recognition, it is not too much.
we haven't reached the point where we're talking about.
Oh, we reached it a long
recognition
time ago and surpassed it.
We talk about healthcare workers and we talk about them.
No, Eric.
If the issue that I see, for me, the issue that I see is the issue of protection. That everybody who's working in a healthcare facility ought to have those protections.
But you see,
PPEs,
the
everything
complaints
that
aren't
the doctor
streamlined
does.
into individual. It is a cluster. These are the issues we're talking about.
Those are the issues that they have seen that they
And
suffer
this is the one
from.
I'm saying, that the one that makes sense to me is that one. The first one first of all, so these guys, we are at a discussion where schools are asking for money and we're saying no. We're at a point where landlords are asking
that's
for
a
money
different
and we're
discussion
saying
on the
no.
same- on the
And
same
then this
subject.
guy is asking me for more money. I'm also saying no.
But he's the one who's in the fight.
It's okay. You fight for with what you have. I don't have more money to give you.
We
Why are
do
you
have-
asking for
we do have
30,000
more
more?
money.
No. Actually, they want a 30,000 allowance.
Yes.
In Pana.
You can debate about the 30,000, but
Me, I
they should
don't
be
want
given an allowance. It's called a risk allowance.
Why give doctors and not give them?
Why give the doctors anyway? Remember
should
when
give
you had
them
that,
as well.
Eric,
argument the other
Eric.
day, I was still saying, look,
We had this discussion and we brought in the security element, and we said they should also be. Remember, we had that same discussion, and it generated the same.
And they're the same ones who've come to strike now because they've not been recognized in the work that they're doing.
We brought in security. Remember, you asked the question, should we include them? I said yes.
Yeah, I said, when you start this thing, where do we stop?
You don't stop.
So now
you acknowledge, you debate, and say, this is the pot we have, and this is what we can give.
They want money.
Yes, tell them what you can give. Don't tell them you don't have.
No, I'm telling them I don't have.
We do have.
We have.
Boss.
We do have.
This money, this 30,000 shillings should be divided among other people.
I said,
tell me if it makes sense to you.
Tupatie watu wengine kila mtu apewe pesa kidogo.
The issue of personal protective equipment has been a particularly painful one among healthcare workers. There are also reported cases of health staff in counties refusing to attend to patients suspected of having COVID-19. A nurse who works at a facility in the Congoea in Mombasa County, who spoke on condition of anonymity, said that they have not. Miti said that they have not been issued with personal protective equipment, despite admitting a patient who they suspected of being infected. That's just one issue. So I mean, if you want to go across board,
that is a good issue to raise.
That one, they'll also say they don't have money to provide.
That one, they should have. That's this 30,000, whatever. We should be able to provide everybody who's working in a health facility with PPEs across the country. We should. Now, insurance, the workers are saying that they do not have comprehensive medical insurance despite being critical stakeholders in the service delivery. Now, you should be treated in the place where you're working, and you should be treated for free. Now, insurance...
If you die... If your children fall sick because
medical insurance does not cater for death, boss, does it?
It does. I think clearly insurance, by its very nature, depending on what you pick on, will cater for that as well.
Medical insurance, not life insurance, not personal accident insurance, not
Eric,
we're talking about. They're asking for medical insurance.
Eric, because they have families, and families can get infected.
Yes, everybody. Plus you, plus your family members, you have access to a public facility.
Right. Do we have that assurance?
Facility.
Do we have that assurance?
Go to public facility. People.
Do we have that assurance?
So that's the assurance that they're asking for.
Now, I'm just asking, is there... You see, the government will say this. Do we have an assurance that what you're saying is exactly what will happen? We're not sure, really. It's been spoken of, we're not sure. And why we're not sure is because that critical mass where our systems are being overwhelmed, we haven't gotten to, and we should thank God on our knees for that. All these things that are being asked for must be looked at, as you have correctly done, individually, and we ask which one of these is serious. And even if they ask for 100 million shillings, you don't respond by saying we don't have money. You respond by saying this is what we can afford.
And when you can't afford, just be
we
truthful
can afford.
And say you can't afford.
Nope. This thing of we can't afford. If we can lose 1 trillion shillings every year to things we can't even understand, and then we say we can't afford.
And that's why we can't afford.
We can afford.
No.
We can afford.
No.
What are we doing with all the money that we've actually appropriated from people who can't explain where they got it from? Where does all this money go? We are told that there's money that hasn't been spent.
That money was directed to the kitty.
Not all of it. Some of it. Not all of it.
This kitty is going to cater for every Kenyan. Eric. Now, if you're telling me that this Jen Karuku kitty is the one that should provide for example, saying insurance for all healthcare workers, any healthcare worker who goes to a public hospital, them plus their family members up to number 4, whatever, fine. Put that money there.
But Eric, do we have that assurance?
Now, that's what I'm saying, that discussion. Let's have that discussion. If the issue is that it's not clear that if you go to a public hospital, you will get treated, let's provide that clarity. If you go to a public hospital, you will get, because that's true. We need that clarity. Even for you and I, we need to know. If I fall sick today and I'm taken to that KU place, am I paying or am I not?
No, you're not. That one has been.
Is it government or is it not? And why am I paying? So
if you're going to
I'm going to Mbagathi, I'm not paying. If I'm going to KU, I'm paying. What's the difference? Because the ones who have gone to Mbagathi have not paid a shilling. The ones who've gone to KU are paying.
And KU is a government facility.
Yes.
It's not a private hospital.
We need that clarity. And there I agree. Now, I'd expect that these healthcare workers, because they are the front line, they'd have more information than we do. So if they're raising the issue of, if that's what they're saying, that we'd like an assurance that we will get treated and that we'll get access to this, Mombasa has already come up with that program for their workers and said...
Mombasa has already said that they have such a program.
Yep.
I want to see it operationalized, then it makes a viable discussion.
And they've actually even said, this is where our healthcare workers shall get treated. In fact, even KNH has set aside an entire wing and said all our workers in this facility, if you get COVID-19 positive, you'll be treated at this particular facility.
I want to see that facility. I want to know how it works. Remember, for the longest time we were told Mbagathi was working. Was it working? No.
We were told we were going to start this facility.
It didn't happen.
It took 2 weeks before we saw
and
the
we
bed.
believed. We were told KNH have set aside.
There was no case.
Even KNH had no clue what you're talking about. No, at Gani? Wapi?
Center.
Mbagathi, by the time we had our first case.
Just go ask that lady there.
Go and ask that one.
You went to Nairobi Hospital. Again, they asked you, to what? Where? No, nothing. Ask that person. When we have that as a background,
And
an
the
announcement is made, we say, okay, we've heard you.
We've heard you.
Now let's see it.
Here, the healthcare workers are basically holding us by the cojones and saying, we're going on strike or you die.
Let them go on strike.
Or you die.
Eric, these
Take them
strikes,
seriously for once.
these
Interesting
these strikes happen because someone is having a conversation where they are stuck on one point. Instead of saying, oh, guys, why don't we look at what we can do and see? And even when they do that, when time comes for putting it into practice, you're given yet another story. We are paying the steep price for having lied to our health workers, for having lied to the citizens of this country so often. We've cried wolf. So now you're saying do this. They're telling you no.
You're saying, we've been saying over time, we'll pay you. We'll talk.
And
Let's come.
and we're telling you,
come, let's reason together.
Yes,
Come,
and
we
they've
reason,
come.
then
We've
they play
agreed.
you.
No payment. The University of Nairobi is another
300
boiling
cases
tent.
of COVID-19 across the country. Tell me which healthcare worker has been overworked. Waache hii mchezo.
Eric,
By the
they're all
way,
overworked.
no, not
Eric,
yet.
they're all overworked. Even before COVID, they were already overworked.
So and they are working. Now this
Yes.
thing of telling me because of 300 cases now you
No,
demand
their
more
lives
money.
were never in the sort of
This
danger
going
that
on
they are now.
strike issue is not a new thing. They've
Yes,
been
it's
complaining
not.
about it for long.
Yeah, no, the reason why they want to go on strike now is basically just telling us, you guys are going to die.
Yeah,
unless
but
you listen to me."
COVID has just added to it.
Kwenda
Yet
huko,
another
go on
opportunity
strike,
that has
wacha tukufe.
that COVID has brought.
So speaks a man who has never had to face a situation.
Don't mind him. Leave
I
him.
have.
Don't mind
I
him.
have
When
When
incidentally.
you're begging doctor, I beg
I
you.
have
I'll pay you
incidentally. And
personally.
this is one of the reasons why I'm so pissed is because I've seen this kind of thing before. They do this all the time. Well, there are cases where they have...
Eric,
Among the
why
things-
don't we ask
among the
these
things that
health
they're
workers
raising-
to call in and tell us?
Yes, among the things that they're raising, some make sense, some of them do not completely
Then
have
why don't we ask them to
justification.
make sense for us so that we can actually now have the discussion based on information that the people who want to go on strike have given us?
Yeah. Let's go into a short break. 13 minutes to 7 o'clock. This is a situation. It's Kenya's biggest conversation.
24/7. Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise.
You're listening to Spice FM.
All right. What other headlines do we have? So let's do that political one. Nation says Uhuru will betray you, Duale tells Raila of our alliance. The National Assembly Majority Leader is saying that there's a secret card between President Kenyatta and his deputy that could see ODM leader face yet another.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning.
And then
Spice up yourself.
Raila's coalition dilemma. The ODM leader is at the crossroads. The BPI train is crossing Mojo, sticking with the Bruno League advantage.
Mornings done right.
But there's no guarantee.
94.4 Spice FM.
Wishes. Ruto may walk out of Jubilee with troops and build a protest alliance with Kalonzo and Mudavadi to scuttle Raila's State House dreams, just like Raila did to Kano and Uhuru in 2002. So, which way, Raila?
You know, this should happen.
What should happen?
It will provide clarity. That alliance of Ruto,
Mudavadi, Kalonzo.
It would be a lovely thing.
And the alliance of Uhuru, Raila, Gideon.
It would be lovely because then we will actually see with clarity what it is that the citizenry of this country think about the leaders and where they go.
Mm-hmm.
As far as I'm concerned, with the current constitution that we have, it doesn't really matter who's president. There's no winner take all here. You have to have other people to work with in order to become the president. So if this is what they're playing at, this is excellent. This is wonderful. It won't be a game changer. It will be a game determiner. The citizenry will have been given an opportunity to speak out and say what they think.
It's musical chairs, though, if you think about it.
But it'll be interesting.
Raila, Kalonzo, Mudavadi. And then now we just move Raila, we bring in Ruto, Kalonzo, Mudavadi. Raila, Uhuru, Ruto, Uhuru. Musical chairs.
No, it's more interesting than that, Eric, because given the parties that they will all belong to, remember, a lot of what happens at the presidency level is reflected at the level of the MCAs and MPs. Okay? You will start there and determine whether these individuals have sufficient popularity at base to be able to actually even have the numbers that they may require in Parliament to change laws. Because that's where the real battle is. It'll be Parliament and then it'll be Senate, the National Parliament. So this alliance, as I said, will simply open us up to understanding exactly where the voter is with regards to these people. And that is good.
Do you think there'd be much of a change? What Mutahi Ngunyu was calling the what of numbers? Tyranny of numbers in 2003. In 2013,
Mutai's tyranny of numbers in 2000, that was what you call a beautiful narrative, well crafted and completely absent of facts. Because if you talk about tyranny, the question that was constantly asked was, explain to us how it is that this person whom you say has lost has more MPs than you do. So you're saying... I'm
Jubilee had more MPs.
Oh, the first time they didn't.
Yes, they did.
No.
That's why the tyranny of numbers
came in.
Because Jubilee, the TNA and URP
Eric, go
had more MPs.
This issue didn't
in the
begin
first parliament of Uhuru.
It didn't begin in 2013. This thing began in 2007. All right? In 2007 is where this particular story began. The tyranny of numbers now was explaining it, extrapolating from 2007, explaining 2013, and calling it a tyranny of numbers. Now, that was debated, it was questioned. There were many things just that didn't add up to this tyranny that they were speaking of. That was the debate that took place now. So if you bring in the issue of tyranny of numbers now, I'm afraid you're going to have to bring in that same debate. So you bring in that same debate, what you are then going to say is this. The tyranny of numbers was possible because of the population. Brother, you've now opened up a
whole Pandora box. But I'm just looking at it just over the top observation of the last two parliaments.
Yes.
The parliament of 2013 to 2017.
Yes.
Where the majority was the president's party.
Yes.
Right, and the coalition.
Yes.
URP, TNA had the majority in parliament.
Yes.
Right now, Jubilee has a majority in parliament.
Yes.
Because of the president and the deputy.
Yes.
Now, let's play around with those two, the president and the deputy. Let's split them, okay? Bring the deputy to Kalonzo and Musalia. Bring Raila to the president. What does that do to parliament?
There's a little maths we have to bring in here, what we call the smaller parties, smaller individuals. These are the people whom Moy used to determine his win. But let me answer your question directly. When you have that sort of scenario, people fall back on the population. And that is when now the real discussion begins. Then you'll hear talk of state machinery. That one is usually neither here nor there. The numbers will have to count. So if you look at that scenario, call it a narrow win, the truth of the matter is that the group that is most likely to carry the day will be Uhuru's group.
Uhuru, Raila, and Gideon is likely to carry the day.
Yes. One, they have state machinery, which more or less determines who wins and who doesn't win. And then,
Right.
And then you have the numbers. Believe me, numbers, and you bring in some of the smaller communities with the numbers as they are right now. Our friends in the other camp will not have the chance that you assume. And not because they lack the numbers, but because their votes will be split.
Such a coming together, you can't assume that the whole numbers bit did not come into play when they were coming together. For sure, they looked and they said, who is it that you control in terms of the country? Who is
What
it that
numbers
their
do you bring to the
allegiance
table?
have been paid to? And that would form the basis for the coming together. It's not because I like you
So
that
the
much.
Kalenjin come to Musalia and Kalonzo, right?
You
So
assume
we are-
the Kalenjins will coalesce directly.
Not really, but a
No,
majority
this
of
a
them, just
discussion.
like the other one, just like the other assumptions are, the majority of the Kalenjin would voted for Jubilee
The reason
Okay.
why,
Because of the Ruto factor.
because of
Yeah,
the Ruto
the
factor.
Ruto factor now.
Right.
Yes.
Now we remove Ruto and bring Kalonzo and Musalia and Ruto together. So we are saying that a majority of Kalenjin will vote with a majority of Musalia supporters, a majority of Kalonzo supporters. Okay. So basically what we've done is we've removed the Luo vote and brought in the Kalenjin vote and taken the Luo vote to Uhuru
Yeah.
and split a bit of the Kalenjin vote as well to
Towards
Uhuru
Gideon.
because of Gideon.
Gideon, right.
Until
What are
the
we?
time.
How are those
Still
numbers?
plays with
Eric, ask yourself this question. Huh?
Uh.
If you're talking about a uniformity of voting, this is how we've seen it in this country. All right? When President Moi was president, we took the view that the Kalenjin voted for him 100% or near 100. No one questioned it. He got a bit from all these other places and he got what he did. Remember, he never even once hit 40%. Not once. But he won because all he required by then was a
a
majority.
simple majority.
Yeah.
Yes. The other group of people who are known to vote to a person, to a child, are the Luo. They will vote. There'll be others who vote this way, but they vote as a block. All right? Then you come to the Kikuyu. Look at how they have voted. The first Kenyatta era, if there was a vote, they voted on one side. Moi came into being, it was splintered. Uhuru came into being with Kibaki, it was splintered. Okay. So now, if you have a situation where there is one Kikuyu vote, and the vote here is not just the vote is what will bring us closer to power. That's what is being considered. Let me ask a question, where do you think they're going to vote? And then look at another populous group, the Luya, very populous, arguably the most populous community you have in the country. Those votes have always been split, and very democratically so. They go this way, that way, this way. That's how they vote, all right? And then you look at the Kamba. The Kamba, in the last few years, have also generally voted in a certain direction, but their vote is also split. Not 50-50, but their vote. The Coast has voted almost unanimously on one side. So if you go by voting patterns, the division that we are speaking of will actually favor Uhuru and
his
Raila.
camp. Yeah.
Yes. And for two simple reasons. One, Uhuru is still president. And three, we've always seen that the incumbency plays a very big role in who becomes president. It's that simple. Yes.
Although in 2013, I always keep wondering, we had a prime minister, a very powerful prime minister, and a vice president in a joint ticket. What happened?
That is now where you call state machinery.
State
But they're the ones in state.
No, state machinery is with the president, not the prime minister.
And the president was leaving.
The president was leaving.
And the prime minister was a very powerful prime minister.
He did
a
not-
co-president.
He did not have those instruments of state, brother.
Hey, Nikubaya. All right, so we'll be taking a look at other headlines and other news. Ndu, there's something about vaccine trials that you want to introduce.
Yeah,
as
there's a lot of chatter going around the globe. I mean, we saw first of all came out of French television, Canal Plus, and they said, you know what, it's likely that since the infection rates in Africa are so low, that is where we should go in terms of now starting trials for a vaccine for COVID. That, of course, received world criticism, and everybody was up in arms about new world racism, etc., etc. The UK then talked about, just a few days ago, talked about, Kenya then being area for
trials.
for vaccine trials, which President Kenyatta resoundingly said there will be no Kenyans used as guinea pigs in trial. But the conversation continues.
Okay, so let's raise that as a debate in the next hour, coming up on that, because that sounds like a very strong one and a powerful one and a heated one that's going to be there. City, top of the hour, today's proverb, something about dancers.
He who is unable to dance says the yard is stony.
He who's unable to dance says the yard is stony.
And
And this is from the Maasai.
it's from the Maasai.
You can imagine, he's stony, and then the guy is trying to jump.
And
as a
then
Maasai
landing on the
Moran.
stone, say, no,
And then
no,
landing on
no,
the stone.
No. If this thing was plain,
Eroi ko mawe bwana.
you would see what I can do if there was no stone.
Ifanyi.
There are very many analogies that are similar, but again, we can look into this as we
In the
get
next
into
hour.
the next hour.
This is a Situation Room. Good morning. It's 7 o'clock.
All right, so Elizabeth will hold up right around the Cabanas. It's expected that traffic coming from the eastern and southern bypasses, so that affects traffic coming in that direction. But it'll open up in a little bit. It's not too bad. Coming them to General Motors, a little bit of traffic there as well, but as you get past that, you'll be fine. And not much traffic being experienced around the city today. It looks good in Mombasa. We don't have any problems there. Nobody has complained so far. Things are moving along quite swiftly. Eldoret is all clear, as is Kisumu this morning. Traffic is soon to be a thing of the past until things come back into normal operation. We'll let you know what it looks like in other parts now. Getting into the CBD, not much of an issue off of Langata Road and Gong Road, getting you into the city of Nairobi, not much of an issue. If it happens, we'll let you know. You let us know what you see too. Spice FM KE, that's how you can reach us on Twitter.
This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by
Thank you very
choice,
much for tuning in
communications
to
expert,
Spice FM.
Pan-African.
The Situation Room is also Kenya's biggest conversation. We're live streaming on Facebook, Spice FM KE, on Twitter, Spice FM KE, as well as our website, www.spicefm.co.ke. So back to that story about vaccines and guinea pigs and Africans and trials happening here, and whether we're using our primate research center, what exactly is happening? What's the story?
Well, the thing is that, look, if it's shrouded in any kind of controversy, is that they're saying, and when we say they, some of the Western nations, what has come out is what has come out. It started with France and then it got to the UK. And if this is any kind of indication, that means more and more people are having conversations about this. Okay, it's just that these two have come out in the open. It was on TV. The BBC reported, that the UK is thinking very seriously then about shaking hands with Kenya and saying, since the numbers are so low, why can't we just use Kenyans as guinea pigs in this sense? Essentially, that is what it is. The reports that came out of France a couple of weeks ago was that this is what we are saying. The numbers in Africa are so low anyway. They have dealt with a myriad of diseases over the last 50, 100 years. Mm-hmm. Their immunity is something to be discussed because they are able to somehow survive, deal with a lot of these diseases. Mm-hmm. That would be the perfect ground to go and start trials for some of these vaccines that we're hoping to test. They should be able to test them. Their infections are still low, we should actually carry out vaccination trials on the African continent. This, of course, has risen out, and it has left a foul taste in the mouths of many people, and they've said absolutely not. Why then come to Africa? Shouldn't it be the reverse? That since the cases are so high there and people are dying anyway, as unpalatable as it may sound, since they're dying in great numbers there, why don't you have trials there? Why must it always be that you want to test something that you don't know whether will go awry on the African continent? And that has been that we're seeing neo-racism. We're seeing a new wave of racism now, whereby we're saying, all right, they're going to die anyway from diseases because they've been plagued by them for the longest time. So why can't we use them?
So they're fearing that the
grounds?
vaccine could kill us, or they could kill the person it's being tested on.
Well, it could. I mean, it has the potential of doing that, right?
So why not just try it on the people who are sick?
This is the thing.
I don't know. The issue of vaccines and trials.
The discussion that probably should have been brought into play was why it is you even have a clinical trial, and what a clinical trial is, and how many phases there are. Because then people would understand why you're saying what you're saying.
Okay.
If you just start by saying have it in Africa, that thing will go belly up completely
Immediately,
and politics now takes center stage.
What should be the normal order of conducting trials?
You see, ask yourself
when you're coming up with a vaccine like this.
Why do you want to conduct the trial? Because there is a problem, and you want to determine if there's a possibility. Now, this is where you come in. You keep hearing epidemiologists. Yes. Public health and whatever. But you now bring in what you call vaccinologists, people who are experts in vaccines. Now, what they will try to do and say, okay, now, if this is a virus, how do we stop? How do we control? How do we manage this? Let's look at what we've done in the past. That's why you hear of testing being done with known drugs. Those drugs have been tested. We know what they do to human beings. But they've also been tested on vaccines. That's one. So it's understandable. Before you get to the point where you're testing these things or the known vaccine on a human being, it goes through all sorts of phases. You want to determine, is it harmful? And if it's harmful, to what degree? If it's useful. The combination of this is what they normally call efficacy. How useful is it vis-a-vis it's not being useful? Then you say, okay, since we think it is, you go to the animal trial phase because you don't want to endanger human life. But if it's drugs that have been tested, it went through that phase. So you now go to human beings, start with a small group. You move from phase one, and each of these phases is a trial on its own. Before you move to the next one, it has to be examined, it has to be peer-reviewed. They must look at the data and the results before they say, okay, with this one, there is something that is possible, so let's go to phase 2 and see how it works out. With phase 2, all you're doing is you're bringing that particular process to a larger population.
So smaller group, then phase 2,
larger and
group.
then diversity also.
Okay.
Now, by the time you get to something like phase 3, you're talking about testing on 300 to almost 3,000 people. Sometimes it is what you call multi-site. You find one in South Africa, one in Uganda, Kenya.
Happening simultaneously.
At the same time, using the same protocol.
Okay.
Now, this is what gives you a clearer picture of what this thing is actually doing, given the variety of places that they come from. And also, you will look at a place where what you call the prevalence is very high. That's why, for instance, most of the trials we had on HIV were on this continent.
Right.
South Africa, which had the highest prevalence, then Uganda and Kenya. They took the cup. But you had some in the US as well, because they had a prevalence. You didn't hear of a trial in China. Nope.
Did some trials go awry at that time?
They did. And it wasn't that the trial itself was not good, it's the way the trial was introduced.
So it had devastating effect.
It had this sort of, this thing that we're discussing here, it came with that one of, this thing is good for you, just try it. And some people said, what? You want to take specimen from my body? You want to take my blood? No. I need to understand a bit more. This also gave rise to the understanding that community engagement was important. Before you even try anything, please talk to these people.
Yeah, because before...
No, I'm asking,
Yes.
during some of these trials, does it actually go very wrong with the test group?
Oh, for sure. That's why...
But that's why you have
Like
the
the
That's
trial.
why you
HIV.
have to have the trial.
Like
So that
with
you
HIV.
know, does it work, does it not work? And if it doesn't, then why?
So you discover that it doesn't work by how much it kills somebody or by the kind of
No,
side
it
effects
usually
it
doesn't
comes
kill.
up.
It's the adverse effects.
That you get really, really sick as an
The
individual.
deaths
And here's
are
the
never
thing.
really there because you have an idea of what it does, and so you want to mitigate, and you want to say, okay, so what are we essentially what are we seeing?
So you can stop it early enough.
Yes, you can. And what are we seeing here? What are we seeing here? Are there similarities? Are there differences? If they are, what are they? It's this information that gives rise to what you think now. This particular vaccine we think can work because the adverse events or the effects are kabisa
The
minimum.
thing about a trial is that unfortunately, everyone who is used must get sick. You need these individuals to be sick, then to see if this vaccine that you're trying to develop will work. So everybody who either volunteers or is then pinpointed for
Actually,
a
you have to
trial,
volunteer.
you have to, yeah.
It's not,
Everybody,
you have to volunteer.
everybody then who volunteers for the trial,
But a vaccine is trying to stop the development of the in your
The
body.
virus, yes.
yes. So they're
So
injecting
you're a healthy
you.
person, then you're given the vaccine, and then now they inject you with the virus. So to see whether it will
No,
work.
the vaccine.
How do you go-
the vaccine
how do you go-
contains.
how do you go about
the
it?
vaccine essentially contains the virus.
Okay.
That's what you.
So you're injected with the virus, but you're a
Essentially.
healthy person at
yes.
this point.
Yes. Okay.
So if you fall sick, then you know this thing is not working, and if you don't,
But the chances of you falling sick during a trial are actually very high. That's why when you're volunteering, you know that the possibility of you falling sick is there. You know that it's there. However, the trial operators also know that they need to care for you at that time. If you do fall sick, they're going to, take care of you at that during that period.
It's part of what you sign.
Up
that
for-
they
you
will
sign
look
up for
after you
it.
and ensure that every and any medical process that is required to keep you healthy is actually conducted and is given to you.
and when we say now that this vaccine is good to go, it's because you've conducted it in a very large number of people
And in a variety of
and
places.
in a variety of places.
Yes.
You vaccinated them, and then they did not fall sick.
No, falling sick is not even the problem. But please remember,
How will you know that this vaccine works?
you will know it works because remember the trials take place over a period of time, not at a year, 1 to 4 years. During that period of time, you are observed at different stages for different things. They will see. After this person fell sick, recovered, they're studying you. All these people, how exactly did they react? That's where you get your answers from. The period of time, because you observe them. It doesn't take place in 2 months. It's 1 to 4 years. And that's all you're doing. You're observing them at every phase. So you get to get real answers. Because you're observing and you can see what they're reacting. They're getting on with their lives, but they come in every so often at a regular period interval to be examined, to be checked for all the vitals and all these things. So you have a very clear idea how this person is responding to what they were given.
Okay. There's something I'm still not getting.
Ask the
Let
question.
me ask again, right? So the idea of the vaccine is to prevent you from getting
It is.
sick from that virus.
Yes, it is.
Sindio?
Yes.
So when you're given the vaccine, the idea should be that you will therefore, over a period of time, even if you're subjected to conditions that should allow this virus to thrive, you will not get the virus. You'll not get hit by that virus.
Yes.
If it's, for example, the COVID-19, then you'll be subjected to conditions where this COVID-19 virus should be able to hit you, but then they observe and see, he didn't fall sick. So the vaccine worked. True? So,
Yes.
so at this point when you're doing the trials, I'm assuming that then they come to somebody who is a healthy person, inject you with a vaccine, and then they're observing. Are you catching on this thing? What are the side effects that you have? For example, as you're still waiting for this vaccine for the virus to come and hit you, what else is happening to your body as a result of what we injected into you? Sindio? Okay. So now the people who are saying that they'd like to come and test in Africa, are they saying that they'd like to come and test in Africa at the third stage, or are they saying they'd like to come and test in Africa at the very beginning? Like initial stage of human trials will happen in Africa.
Eric, this is what they need to explain. Remember, it's an experiment. You assume certain things, but why you have the experiment is to determine in a concrete manner what it actually is. You start with an assumption. You start with a question that hasn't been answered. The trial will answer these questions. And they'll probably even raise more questions that you didn't know. You'll get information you didn't even know existed. That's why trials are there. And that's the interesting thing about trials, because with trials, you'll even produce now a sub-study. Something weird that you didn't expect comes up and you wonder, we need to study this to understand it. But Eric, many of these trials that we're talking about now are dealing with drugs that are known. The drugs are known. What they do is known. Now, what they're trying to see is, or to determine is, how these known drugs react, or how the combination of these drugs react to this unknown disease. That's what they're trying to do. So there are many things they don't know. And there are many things that they will come up with, which they had not known before. Now, the issue of testing, again, it is not that the testing of it is wrong. When you do a test, you normally put people into two groups. There are those who actually receive the actual medication that is supposed to actually provide treatment. And there are those who receive
a placebo.
a placebo likely. Yes. Okay. Now,
Which is a nothing.
Yes.
In
Yes.
the, in the
It's like
form
water.
of
yes. Now, if you want to test people who are clearly not being infected at the first as faster rate as the others, you know they're not. So you want to find out. Let's test and see why they're not being infected like the others. The testing itself, the trials are actually reasonable and scientifically viable. This is now when politics and communication comes in. It doesn't mean that they will not do tests in places where the prevalence is high, where huge numbers are there. The reason why China has been able to come up and to understand the genome of this is because they were doing trials. So they understood. The Chinese were the first to actually understand the genome of the virus and give it to vaccine-producing industries. So they fast-forwarded the process for them. So they didn't even need to do it. They were told, this is what it is. So now they take the drugs that they know and say, okay, of the drug that deal with this sort of formation, which one works?
which one works.
Yes. So they fast-forward it in that manner. So it's not that in the West they're not doing trials. They are. But for you to understand this, you need to test in populations the prevalence is high, and you also need to test in populations where the prevalence is not high. So then you get to understand some of these questions that you are asking and you can't arrive at an answer to.
So this is where the Africa could be coming in.
This is where they could be coming
Because
in. But
there's
the way
low
it's been,
prevalence in Africa. So this is one part of our trials.
the way it's been reported, the way it's coming,
That they're coming to Africa to test
because
this thing.
these Africans need to be tested.
And unfortunately, look at the reports that came out of France at that point. Unfortunately, that's the way it came out. That you know what? This is how, and if you translate what the gentleman said, is that these Africans actually, they're not getting this thing. So it would be a perfect breeding ground for this disease. This is the place where we should actually, try some of this thing. That's how he said it.
Let's take a look at weather shortly. 7:15. Good morning. This is the Situation Room. It's Kenya's biggest conversation.
All right, the sun is peeking through this morning. Partly cloudy conditions only at 16 degrees in Nairobi. We'll see thunderstorms later on, though, and quite early, highs of 24. Taking a look then into Nyeri, it's also at 16 degrees. Showers expected then with highs of 24. In Nakuru, it's mostly sunny this morning. It'll all be dampened by the rain in the afternoon, though, with highs of 24 as well. In Eldoret, it's clear skies at 13 degrees. We'll see highs of 22 with thunderstorms invited in the afternoon. In Kisumu at 18 degrees, clear skies this morning. That'll all change later then with thunderstorms in the afternoon, highs of 28. In Malindi, we'll see highs of 29 with thunderstorms later on. The light rain showers have already begun at 26 degrees this morning. It's the same in Mombasa, and we'll see rain throughout the day with highs of 28 and lows of 25. In Dar es Salaam, it's mostly clouded at 26 degrees, highs of 30 and lows of 24. And we'll see rain coming in the afternoon too. 20 degrees in Kampala and mostly sunny conditions. Give way to rain in the afternoon with highs of 25 and lows of 20. In Joburg at 10 degrees, it's partly cloudy. Thunderstorms for the first time making an appearance today. Highs of 13 and lows of 9. And finally, for now in Lagos at 26 degrees, it's clear skies with periodic clouds throughout the day, highs of 33 and lows of 26.
Classic soul, R&B,
At 20
smooth
minutes past
jazz,
7, this
neo
is
soul,
Kenya's
and
biggest conversation. In the room, we have Eric Latif, Siti Muga, and Nduoko, who's raising the issue of vaccine trials for COVID-19. And we've seen stories coming out of France, another story on the BBC, talking about vaccine trials for COVID-19 taking place in Africa, and specifically in Kenya. The President of the Republic of Kenya, Uhuru Kenyatta, was asked this question the other day when he was having a briefing on Saturday, and he said, no trials are going to take place in Kenya. Kenyans are not going to be subjected to be used as coronavirus guinea pigs.
Now, you see, this is where communication really goes south. Because, let me bring an analogy. The other day, we've seen in the papers that a senior scientist, a center head no less, Center for Virology, was demoted. And what was in the news was that this gentleman did not give the results in a timely fashion. So let's pause. Who does this person report to directly?
The director.
Precise Director General. So who does he give information to? Director General.
General's office.
Why is it that all these days they've been reporting there been no issue? What happened on this specific day? What is it? What occasioned the delay? Does he have the power to buy all the equipment he needs? The answer is no. He buys it through the normal system that an institution like that buys. You ask the next question. Does the institution have the money to buy these things? Were they given? Another question. The PPEs that they're using are not, reportedly, not new PPEs. This particular center does this sort of work all the time. So they have PPEs. Those are the ones they're using. So if there was a delay, was it that the time he was supposed to give the information was more or less surpassed? Or was it that the time was brought forward and no one informed him and he didn't know? So when he was asked, he gave the results as he normally did. These are questions that are not answered. But even more importantly, who appoints center directors? It's not a competitive process in Kemri. It's the director who decides. So the person who ought to have explained this to the minister, by the way, this one doesn't fall on the minister's head. The Director General should have explained and said, excuse me, sir.
This is what happened.
The times, yes, you wanted this report at this time, but we had agreed it's this time. Had we told him earlier we didn't, he would have had it on time. There are many questions that arise from this. So you ask, this person had this position, the next day he's demoted. That is one of the most demoralizing things you can ever come across, because this one incident, all this time he's been doing it, nobody has questioned anything that he has done. Why are we not answering the question of why? Same thing with the president. The president is informed. It goes up, 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 up. He's informed. These guys. Have you heard anyone who is involved in research, in scientific research, commenting to explain that, folks, when they say this in scientific language, this is what they mean. This science language has to be explained for you to understand it. And even before you conduct that research, it takes years of preparation. Someone doesn't announce and tomorrow morning we've started. It never works that way.
Yeah, because this is it. Once you saw the report coming out of, let's just start with France about a month ago. Everybody thought, tomorrow there's going to be French planes landing on Africa.
Injecting our children.
And spraying them.
Old people.
Injecting them randomly, children and old people, and then a few pregnant women here and there to see if they actually get sick because of the virus. That was the perception. Up in arms, everybody said, absolutely not. This is racism of the highest order. Cannot happen on the African continent. It doesn't happen like that.
Especially because they're coming.
The
perception here is that it's not happening anywhere else. They just came up with that vaccine.
And said, actually, this should be done in Africa.
Let's go try it.
No, but that's the point. You may not bother reading. If you read, you'll know they've been doing trials. It's not as though if you've been reading about this, they have been doing trials.
There are trials happening on the continent for other drugs and other vaccines.
Even
now as we speak. Right?
But see, Eric, what is not explained, for you to conduct a research on human subjects, you have to produce a protocol. That protocol goes to an ethical review committee board. Scientists, people who understand this, before they give you the okay, you will have answered many questions. That protocol will have gone back and forth. It can go on for a year. It can go on for 2 years.
Who in this country allows this to happen?
The people who have ethical review boards, Moi University, Eldoret, Kenyatta University, Cambry, have by far the most, should be the most vibrant of these. What is this university? Strathmore have one which is budding. There are many others coming up. But as I've mentioned, these boards will go through that protocol with a tooth comb.
And what's the procedure? So a vaccine developing company somewhere in the West comes and goes straight to Cambridge or goes to any of these universities directly.
Actually,
not through any government, top-level government, ministry apply before you land here.
No. There is a body that actually oversees all these ethical review boards. It's a government body.
The research...
I'm going to remember the name
yes,
shortly. I actually ought to know the name of it, and I do. But there it is.
Just gone.
Tembea kidogo darudi.
Yep.
That overseas.
So there is that. It's a research authority.
There's my friend, there are field checks everywhere.
All right. So that's the first one that oversees.
No, that's the umbrella. It oversees everything. It's like if something goes wrong among these guys, they're the guys who will make the final decision.
No, I'm asking that. Let's call this company whatever pasture in whichever country.
The Dakar one.
Yes. Right? It wants to conduct human trials, clinical trials in Kenya. What's the process? Who do they apply to first?
The person they apply to, first of all, it may be in their interest to get a collaborator. A local collaborator.
That's the thing I was going to say. Because if you want to look at now the Oxford trials, this is the most recent one.
Yep.
The Oxford trials, the direct local collaborator is Kemri Wellcome. Okay? So the conversation, by the time they're making it public on the BBC, that conversation has already started with Kemri Wellcome.
So they've reached out to Kemri Wellcome.
Those are their local collaborating partners.
And Kemri Wellcome
unlikely
has
that
said,
you will have a trial from one country and they want to participate in trials in another country and they don't have a local collaborating partner.
Okay.
It's unlikely for that to happen.
Okay. So next.
Once you've gone through these fellows here, you will produce what you call a protocol. It is your documentation of intent. This is what we would like to do. All right? Now, it doesn't start by it going. You will write to Cambry. If that's the institution you want to have your document taken, you will write to them. When you write to them, they will then look at it. They have a specific body within Cambry, a secretariat, that all it does is look at such proposals before it even goes to the ethical review board. That's all they do.
Okay.
They look at it, and when they think it is something that can be looked into or worked at, then they send it to that board. Prior to that, there'll be a back and forth between you and the secretariat. Until they are satisfied that, okay, this is something that is possible. When it is possible, usually, they look at the center that deals with what. If it's a virology thing, they look at Center for Virological Research. They say, you guys, have a look at this thing and tell us what you think about it. If it deals with microbicides or microbes, they take it to Center for Microbiological Research. If it's the University of Nairobi, they'll take it to the very department that deals with it. That department will look at it and say, I think this thing, they'll give their recommendation.
Right.
And this thing doesn't take a week. When you're through with that process, then, and only then, that center, the ethical review board now is
constituted now.
Yes. It's constituted, but they don't look after it. In Cambry, there's a scientific commission, a scientific body here, that when it comes from the center, this matter goes to. Now, this one is represented by literally all the heads of centers within Cambry. And then the secretariat comes in. They look into this thing afresh. When they pass it is when it goes with the ethical review board. Because that's the final stage. But it doesn't just come into the country, ethical, it goes through that entire process. And then, my friend, when they give you the okay, they now want to come and see exactly what it is you have in mind.
You're going to do, yeah.
But then the protocol includes a scientific component, the people you're going to employ, their qualifications, a one-page CV. That document has everything. And they want to know, and they usually want to say, I've worked in this and this and this and this. Just a pager, done. It has financial information. It has information of how you're going to reimburse the participants. It has information of where you're going to conduct the study, in what age group, over what period of time. Everything in detail that you will want that study to do is in that document.
All right. And at the point when you're now going to your target group, what do you tell them?
You You see, when you're given your okay, the okay is based on what's in the protocol and how you plan to approach them. You will form what you call I'm looking for the word, a committee that comprises of the community leaders. Okay? Their job is to actually advise you, but it is explained to them who it's a nomination, it's volunteerism. And some of them will involve chiefs, women leaders, youth. It actually tries to encompass all the leadership in that community.
Right.
Now, it is explained to them what it is you want to do. It is through them, they are called the gatekeepers. They are the ones who will open the door for you now to talk to pockets of groups, to the community. You explain. And you also give the community time to give you feedback, to ask. Then the next thing you do, if it's something which is being conducted in the community, you will look through these people who you feel can work with you to do what you want within the community. That is how you get the community to buy into the project, so that they're participating in it and so they understand it. And you create an information system where they talk back to you to tell you, no, we don't like this. Or so and so who you brought here, we don't like because he's chasing after village girls. All that. These are supposed to be fail-safe. Sometimes they don't work, but at least you've tried. And if they don't work, you sit with the same committee again, talk to them and say, okay. Now, according to the protocol, because everything in the protocol, when someone does this, it's a protocol violation. This is what we do. The idea being, by the time that particular project is over, that community actually has an understanding of what research is.
They know what what was happening.
Yes.
The problem here is that what CT has done for us now is often not done for people. And that is the problem. I mean, we had people like Martha Karua raising it last week, and she said, you know what? If this is actually going to happen, there needs to be adequate communication between the collaborating bodies and the general public. Because once you have people up in arms, there is no way
it will not ever take off.
It will never take off. And at the end of the day, if we're going to be honest with ourselves, vaccine trials are necessary for you to find a vaccine that works against something like this. Who are we going to test it on if not human beings? That's just the truth. Whether we want to get ethical, whether we want to get emotional about it and talk about racism and all these other, incendiary
just because you come from a monkey to an African.
This is the thing. Now, the communication and then translating what you see on TV directly to what somebody says and then saying, hold on, our government's going to allow such a thing happen because of money? Now, if there's lack of adequate information, communication that's being given, that's what gets us into the problem whereby we could actually throw away a potentially good thing, right? Because of high emotions, because of the fact that we've not been informed adequately. So information and communication is vital for things like this.
Right. Let's take a short break, take a look at traffic, and then the conversation continues, and we'll open up the phone lines now for you to join in the conversation. 0719 012 600. That's 0719 012 600. Good morning. 7:30.
Let's see what may have changed or what may have remained the same. We'll stick to Nairobi roads this morning. Mombasa Road right now is looking pretty good all the way from now the SGR and moving down. Not much of a hiccup. It'll get you into town without a problem right now. It's clear on Langata Road. It's clear on Gong Road. It's clear coming out of Westlands, in and out of the CBD. Coming off Thika Road and then to the Pangani Underpass, you'll be fine. Anything out of the ordinary, please do let us know. Spice FM KE, if there's something out of that needs to let other people know about what you see, and we'll do that for you.
Spice up your life.
In the room, Eric Latif, Ndu, of course, CT Muga. So, CT, have you recalled the name of this oversight body that does oversight of all research in the country?
I'm really,
all right, so we'll find it.
I'm really doing really badly here, but I'll get there.
We'll find it. We'll find it. So, in all these stages that you've described to us, CT, where are the loopholes and where is the possibility of manipulation by corrupt individuals?
Usually, all these are checked right at the point where you are sending in your protocol and what they do, because there are things that you will suggest that should be done. We'll tell you that one is not allowed by our law. We are not doing it. Like, for instance, someone says that they want to conduct a study among young girls at the age of, you'll be told that is not going to happen. Because according to our laws, you need to have somebody who can legally make a decision on their own, and this child will require parental consent. Or somebody comes and says, for each participant, we're going to be giving them 5,000 shillings for their participation. And we'll tell you, no, we are not going to accept that, because that 5,000 shillings falls in the realm of coercion. Many people earn that in a month. So if you give someone 5,000 shillings for a research project, you're essentially paying them a salary. It doesn't matter what you say, they know they're being paid. So already, the volunteerism has gone out of the window. We now have a business association that we are conducting with this individual. So we are not sure that their response will be according to what we want. Someone feels you're employing them, so they'll figure out what they think you would like them to say, and that's what they will say. And that's not what we want. What we want in a research setting is for people to honestly give you their views.
Right.
There's nothing wrong or right. It's just information.
Just info.
Yes, and that's the information we use for determining what we want to do. Now, if you have a whole bunch of people trying to figure out what you want and trying to be nice to you, that research has already gone belly up.
Completely.
Because you have people who are just primarily lying to you. They're not giving you the honest opinion. They're giving the opinion which they think you want. So already there's manipulation. So that information, that data is actually useless already, even before we begin.
Is it possible for an organization to go and to bypass any of this and go and conduct some research silently? And
People do it all the time, and it's never silent for long.
So it'll emerge at some point. I think the body that we are looking for is NACOSTI, is it not?
It's NACOSTI. Yes.
What's NACOSTI in full?
The National...
I'm going to get it. National Commission for Science and Technology and Innovation, NACOSTI, right? So this is the one that oversees all research organizations in the country. So I was asking, this happens. There's some organizations that will try to cut corners, go to the ground and start conducting their trials.
This is a clinical trial. And clinical trial means you involve drugs. So apart from NACOSTI, you'll have the Pharmacy and Poisons Board. Annex the section we deal with clinical trials coming in. They will want to look at these drugs because they are pharmacists. They will want to tell you, they'll want to know a whole history of this, because you could be introducing a drug that was banned in certain countries for certain reasons, and we don't know because this is not our field, and you want to bring it in.
Okay.
They will cut you off at that stage and tell you, no, you're not having a trial with this one.
Don't proceed.
Go back to the books, and they'll tell you the alternatives to these drugs which are acceptable are this and this. So go and write a protocol with this one.
Understand also that the protocols that have been put in place, these stringent measures that must be followed by everybody, were put in place because of the fact that previously you did have trials in many places where there was no law whatsoever. People just basically ran amok and did whatever they wanted to do. Unfortunately, we have cases where people, unfortunately died. You had cases where people became sick and then they were vegetables for life because protocol was not followed, measures were not put in place as to how this was to be done. That's why we have what we have today. We can't categorically state that all vaccine trials for everybody is 100% foolproof and it is safe. That's why we have to go through so many bodies to make sure it's actually done in the right way.
Right.
What is the crutch here is that if adequate communication is not given, if proper information is not shared, then that's where you have a problem. What would have been great is at the point where you hear, okay, there is some chatter about that vaccine trials could then happen on the African continent. It then behoves these organizations who are in place to say, you know what, perhaps the conversation is happening. We're thinking about it now. Essentially, this is what could happen. We're at the beginning stages now. We're having a conversation about it. You allay fear. You stop this, fire hopping up and down every now and then about racism and this and that, the other thing, which could be the case, very well could be the case.
Especially the people who are explaining themselves.
Talk in the manner in which they did. Yes. That is, it's an existing issue. However, if you want to look at the vaccine itself, and I'm saying that it is something that could actually help in the future so that you don't have this thing. So it then becomes a recommended vaccine amongst all the other things that you must do. The process itself, if you ask me, is genuine. However, these other things that you have coming in and jumping in the window is what then now creates the mental
All these
state
other
of
issues.
everybody else saying that absolutely not. We're not guinea pigs. We're not monkeys. It cannot happen.
By the way, even to conduct research, if we leave the ethical, there's something called a research permit. And this you can only get from Nakosti. It takes 30 days. Research actually goes through processes. It's not, you can try and hop, skip and jump, but it goes through processes. And what Ndu was referring to was ethical guidelines that more or less regulate biomedical research. These things are born out of experience. And what came to the fore was the Nuremberg trials, when German scientists had been conducting horrendous trials on human beings. It came to the fore. And so rules came into being, it evolved, it continues evolving until it got to the point where nowadays what you call personal consent takes center stage. That consent has to be understood by the participant. And you have to prove that it has been understood. And even when it's been understood, it will be questioned again because it is volunteered. Now, the thing that many people perhaps don't understand about this, a country like America, that was the forefront of accusing the Germans, had been conducting their own syphilis trials for a long time prior to that. And the syphilis trials ended after the Nuremberg trials.
Yep.
And there are many cases of experiments being done on human beings wrongly and harmfully.
In Southern America, right? What was this?
It was in America
Argentina?
itself, among black people. The Tuskegee trials. That's
right.
what they were called.
Right.
They essentially were testing medication on syphilis. Man, these people didn't even know what was being tested. And it carried on right to the 70s, 1970s. Crazy.
Some crazy stuff.
Oh, yes, and there are other
So
cases.
there's a background to which everybody gets alarmed when you hear
Yes.
human trials.
Of
and
course.
clinical
Yes.
trials.
Yes.
Alarm
I
bells
think
go up
the issues that
completely.
needs to be addressed in this particular case is looking at how to assuage all these fears.
Yes.
How to ensure that everything is happening according to the laid down procedures and laws. Because we have laws in this country that govern such.
We do.
We have regulations that govern such.
We do.
Now we have a reputable organization called Oxford University, right? It's a reputable
It's known.
organization. It's known.
Known for
it's
vaccine
saying
trials, by
we
the
are
way.
working with a local collaborator called KEMRI. This KEMRI is a government organization. So, okay, so that's just one. The fear, and that's why I was raising the issue of where backdoor people could come in. The fear is not the back doors. It's not basically at Oxford. If you hear that Oxford are coming to conduct those trials in Kenya, you'd be like, okay.
You know,
The fear is the other two small companies
you're right, Eric.
that
You
will
know-
be coming to
you know-
conduct this trial on behalf of some unscrupulous people sitting somewhere.
Waiting to make
In the
or
Alps.
Yeah.
Oxford subcontract or some other
Yep.
subcontract somebody who on paper seems to know what they're doing and yet they know
They
nada.
don't
Thing.
know.
and it
they-
happens.
and their
We're not
interest
talking
is
about
just to
some
make money.
conspiracy.
No.
We're not talking about some conspiracy here. We're talking about this actually happens. And you know what? If you want to point it, because look, we all know that vaccines is a $100 billion industry in this world. Right? Anybody then who has a prototype, anybody then who has a successful, however you want to call it, successful vaccine that is essentially going to treat people. Can your mind
Sorted
just
for generations.
Can your mind just start to imagine what is going to happen in terms of the commercial value
Yep.
attached to a pharmaceutical company, for
Yep.
example, who has a patent on vaccines? And then can you imagine how many unscrupulous people, just like you're saying, who are out there who want to get their hands in the pie or in the kitty
And there's a global
before
race.
something happens?
And
Absolutely.
everybody
wants
now
to
is
be
thinking,
number
I
one.
want to be the first one to go
For
home
sure.
with this.
For sure.
But you know, Eric, where Ndu is right is that people like Oxford, right, took, should we say, a clear lead on this a long time ago. Even the experiments that have brought about the claim that a cure for HIV has been found based on understanding the genome and attacking it at its very root, it's Oxford. And there are two cases of people that can say, here are the people we're telling you about, peer review, please examine and see what we've said is true. And then there's the International AIDS Vaccine Initiative. It's called IAVI. It's been around for the longest time. CAVI, which is based at the University of Nairobi, Department of Medical Microbiology, they've been doing these vaccine trials for the longest time. This isn't new in Kenya. This is something people must understand. We have a body that deals with the vaccine trials in Kenya and has been there for a long time, going to 2 decades, if not beyond. So it's not new. Again, somebody is going around misinforming the president. We've had these in Kenya. We've had microbicide trials. You're using products that don't necessarily have to have the pharmacological content that some of these other things have, and primarily focusing on women so that they can be given the choice. These things have been going on in Kenya. There's an entire directory of medical clinical research projects that happen in Kenya. They're there. If you want, one can Google and find out. The ones which involve the Poisons Medicine Poisons Board, the ones which involve, and which universities, which ethical review committees have dealt with this. That information is in the public domain. It's not secret. And even the name of the research projects, where they are conducted, for how long they've been conducted, it's all there. But unless it's something that you have an interest in, you won't really know about it.
At the apex of government, who's responsible for this? Is it the Ministry of Health? Is it the Ministry of Education, Science and Technology?
It's a combination. It's a combination.
Because where I'm heading with this is we've seen the president saying no Kenyans are not going to be used as guinea pigs. You've seen the CAS for Health, Dr. Rashid, coming out to say we actually are not aware. So who is it that should be knowing and who should be giving us this information?
But the level at which it
If
is
at the top
right now,
level we are just hearing, I don't know. Maybe this thing is happening and the government does not know.
But there's definitely a conversation that is happening between Oxford University and Kemri Wellcome. By the time it is being announced on the other side, it's a conversation they were having. It was a show like this on the BBC, and they were discussing the two UK nationals to whom are already in the clinical trial, and then for saying that they're having conversations with their local collaborating partners about how they can then perform a trial in Kenya. It's a conversation.
Right.
Definitely the conversation has started. But the thing is, at that point where it is, the entire process which CT took us through has not yet happened.
It hasn't even begun.
It has not begun. But
Just
a conversation
talking.
is... So it's okay for Dr. Rashid to say that they don't know, because the likelihood is that
He
they
doesn't
don't
know.
know. They
Yes.
don't know.
It's not formal anywhere.
It's
that
not
this is
anybody
what's
trying
happening.
to be dodgy. It's not anybody trying to say we're trying to hide any kind of information. It just means that the process has not begun.
They are
to
following
unfold.
processes as they usually followed in such matters. And remember, Kemri is a department within, if I may call it that, the Ministry of Health. And there are many things that Kemri does that Dr. Rashid or Mr. Rashid would not know.
No.
Unless he needed to know and ask.
Unless
then
he's
told.
running all the programs at Cambridge.
He
and
isn't.
He's not.
He isn't. There's somebody else whom probably the Director General of Kemri reports to in the Ministry of Health.
Yep.
That's the person who would know. So Dr. Rashid, his statement was probably a statement of truth.
Yeah.
He actually doesn't
He
know.
doesn't know.
And there's nothing wrong with him not knowing. Because if you have someone within the Ministry of Health who had, for instance, upper respiratory diseases, Kemri will not know what that person is doing. Unless it's something very directly related to one of its centers, Center for Respiratory Disease. Unless you bring it there.
Yep.
The rest of Kemri will have no clue.
Yep.
Because their plates are full with what they do on a daily basis. This is where communication, and Du said it clearly, when it goes awry, even something that realistically you don't expect someone to know, you then ask, what are they hiding? They're not hiding anything. They're not hiding anything. What you're experiencing is a communication hiccup, but there's nothing nefarious going on.
Okay. It's 13 minutes to 8 o'clock. This is the Situation Room. 0719 012 600. Join the conversation. All right, 11 minutes to 8 o'clock. This is the Situation Room. It's Kenya's biggest conversation. Join our conversation on 0719-012-600. We're talking about clinical trials for the COVID-19 vaccine happening in Kenya. At what point should we be told that now this is what is happening? So let's assume that, Oxford and Kemri Wellcome have been having this collaboration and they're working on this, and maybe they're having a talk on maybe we can start working on our protocol, so we can submit our protocol for review, and then we can get the go-ahead. At what point should we expect the government to come and tell us, as you understand, as you're aware, fellow Kenyans, there are trials happening all over the world, we have become...
I do think that it should be at the point of protocol submission. At the point of protocol submission is when you inform the public that, look, one of our collaborating partners in a different country, for example, is bringing forth a submission for the possibility of clinical trials in the country, especially when it has something to do like this COVID, a pandemic whereby you didn't expect it to reach the numbers that it has globally. And to say these are the protocols under which we are working, just inform the public, because what you want to avoid is later on, whereby the protocols have passed, the review has sat, and then the authority has been given, and the trial has already begun, and then you inform people that of what's going on. That would be a very big mistake, because people are going to be up in arms whether the information was authentic or not. Whether it is that they went through all the right protocol, whether they got all the T's crossed and all the I's dotted, people are going to be up in arms, because it's like you did something behind their back, and at the end of the day, these are their relatives, these are their fellow Kenyans. You want to say, at the point of submission of protocol review, this is what we are doing. For communication purposes, for information sharing purposes, you want to do that, because you have people up in arms. You're going to then bastardize the process of this vaccination or of this vaccine trial, because people don't want to get involved, and you need willing participants to be involved in a trial. If you share this information late, you're jeopardizing the authenticity of it.
The fellows that were being quoted in the French story, who are they and what do they do? What's their involvement in vaccine development?
Well, unfortunately, in this case, one of them was, the title that he was given was he's a social commentator with some kind of medical background. So I think, unfortunately, he was quite irresponsible with his comments, especially because now if you want to dig a little bit into his background and see who he was, and upon then which platform he was able to speak, then people were getting a bit, is it somebody who was just giving their opinion? And then how far and wide could this opinion be spread? Because if you now taint it or color it with the other fun adjectives that he gave, then for all intents and purposes, then you wouldn't blame people for being up in arms in the way in which it wasn't really what he said. It was the manner in which he said it. That it would be a great place to test this. Not much in terms of numbers on the African continent. Why not use it? Try it out in Africa. So that was the problem there.
Okay, so the two, speaking in a television discussion that became swiftly infamous, one of the two doctors is the head of an intensive care unit in Paris, and they suggested trials for vaccines in Africa. These remarks of Professors Jean-Paul Murat and Camille Lott met immediately with fury, with the words of footballers, African footballers, the big stars, Didier Drogba, Samuel Eto'o and Dembaba, saying, come on. Didier Drogba is saying, it's totally inconceivable that we keep on cautioning this. Africa isn't a testing lab. I would like to vividly denounce those demeaning, false, and most of all, deeply racist words. So basically, it appears that these doctors were saying, like you were saying, the doctors were saying...
why not try it down there? I mean, and if you want to apply logic to this and say that, where are people around the globe most sick? From
in
COVID,
Europe.
Right? In Europe.
And America.
Why not try it out there? If the reasons that he was giving, because this is one of the things that he did say, that people are getting sick from unmentionable diseases in Africa all the time. People are getting sick from COVID in the Western Hemisphere like they're getting sick nowhere else on the globe. So if you want to use that logic, then apply it there as well. And say, then there's no reason why the trials should not then take place in France, why they should not take place in the United States, why they should not take place in Italy, if you want to go by the argument that he had put forward. This was the problem. And then the manner in which he said it is like, okay, well, a bunch of people who get sick all the time anyway, so Why don't you want to try it there? We're not going to lose too much if we lose a couple of Africans here, are we?
It's basically those two.
It was these two gentlemen
and they
spread
have
like wildfire.
messed up. They have messed up for very many others, because this is the perception that we have, that when these guys are coming to test, they don't care whether we die or live. They don't care what happens to
who
us.
are these two individuals? Remind me again.
Some two doctors.
Two French doctors who were on French TV on Kano, and they were basically talking about the fact
they're research scientists.
they're doctors. They're not research scientists, which is why I was saying they're social commentators with a medical background.
Yes.
Okay?
They were doctors in a TV show.
Yeah.
They
One
are
of them is
doctors
the
on
head
a
of an
TV show,
ICU.
so they were guests on a
Yes,
TV show.
yeah.
Now, this is what happens when you have a very important role in the world of healthcare, but then people don't know very much about what you do and how you do it. Now, this is what you call a gross misunderstanding. The fact that someone is a medical doctor does not make them a research scientist. It's a very different thing altogether.
He said, and I quote, this is what Jean-Paul Mirat said. Interestingly, head of intensive care at Cochin Hospital in Paris. If I can be provocative. So he knew what he was going to say before he even said it. Shouldn't we be doing this study in Africa where there are no masks, no treatments, no resuscitation? A bit like as it's done elsewhere for other studies in AIDS. In prostitutes, we try things because we know they are highly exposed and that they do not protect themselves. This was the problem.
Okay.
This is exactly what he said. You don't know. You don't have any kind of protocol for health
His
security
logic is that
anyway.
these guys are highly exposed.
Exactly. So try it there.
Actually, he is right insofar as he talks about it. But research of that nature will not only deal with those who are highly exposed. It will also deal with those who are less exposed. It will deal with age groups. It will deal with even people who have healthcare understanding and who you would assume, because of their knowledge, would be perhaps more careful. Meaning it will be well-rounded. There is a project that was carried out in Majengo in Nairobi, which took center stage in this discussion about HIV for the longest time. And what was peculiar about the study was that these are women who were in the sex trade. And it was noted they also did not use protection. What was most peculiar, it was anticipated that if this is what you did, you'd be exposed to the virus and you would die. They didn't. Not only did they not die, they didn't exhibit any of the conditions you would anticipate they would because of the exposure. So people wondered, why?
Did they
What
catch the
on
virus?
earth is this? They tested HIV positive, just so that you understand.
Okay.
But they never fell sick.
They didn't fall sick.
They were not on any drug.
Interestingly
Nothing.
enough, when they got out of sex trade,
Then
they fell
started-
sick.
They fell
falling
sick.
sick.
Yeah.
So something new which wasn't known was found. So they wondered, why are they not falling sick? Questions were asked. So if you're exposed to a certain level of the virus, then your body has an MOU, figures out how to deal with it, and it just copes. If it lessens, the
For as
body now
long
has
as the exposure is still there.
the body copes.
Remove exposure and
Yes.
things
Now,
change.
a whole new discussion came up. And then the issue of testing evolved. Voluntary, door-to-door testing. Then they said, you know something? These numbers are not doing what they're supposed to do. What do we do then? Then they came to something very, very interesting. They said, you know what, folks? Why don't we look at sexual networks? Okay? You're looking at sex between two people. Let's expand it. Who else are you having sex with? Then we advance. In the last 3 years, we have partner notification services, meaning, okay, can you tell us who your partners are quietly? We'll find a way of communicating.
We'll
with
reach
them.
out to them quietly.
So the numbers which you thought had gone down suddenly didn't go down. Because you suddenly found there were groups who had never been tested, never went for testing. All these were found over a long period of time. COVID has been with us not a year. There is a great deal more that we're going to find out.
Can Africa contribute? Do you think we should contribute to this in finding answers, in finding a vaccine?
Certainly, yes. But also we must involve African scientists.
I think
And that's the point. So eminent African scientists should also be playing a leading role in this, in participating in the global search for the vaccine.
People who have done epidemiological studies to be involved. Why do you think the fight against AIDS succeeded? They understood what Eric has just said. They not brought in as KYMs people.
yeah.
They were collaborative
token
partners.
black, token black guy.
To token black.
We have the
yes.
black guy there. So
Yeah, so
exactly.
we're
continue.
fine.
They actually brought in scientists as equal partners, and they started making headway because they'd be told, what you're trying to do is good, but you can't do it the way you're saying. It won't work. Previously, that wasn't listened to. They knew. They would tell you and tell them, it's not going to work.
Forget it.
We know, okay. Goes belly up.
Just be looking at you.
Many $1 million had gone belly up completely, no results. Now, the moment the African scientists were brought in, progress was made.
Things started moving.
Yes, because they were telling you things, not things they are thinking, they know.
The local perspective as they understand it. This conversation continues on our social media handles, Spice FM KE on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube as well. CT, top of the hour, you know what we're talking about.
I definitely know what we're talking about. He who is unable to dance says the yard is stony.
He who is unable to dance says the yard is stony.
Blame the ground, for heaven's sake. That's where you're dancing. It's messing up the whole move. The entire plan, the choreography is going belly up because the ground is full of stones.
Yeah. Okay. It's coming up to 8 o'clock. This is the Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation. In the next hour, let's talk about hospital bills for COVID-19 patients. Good morning.
Bumper to bumper traffic on Haile Selassie Avenue today for some reason. Getting into the CBD is a bit of a headache, not quite sure why. I'm sure we're giving details about that in a bit. If you know, do tell us. Spice FM KE on Twitter. Coming off Mombasa Road into the CBD is going to give you a little bit of problem as well because that Haile Selassie traffic connects with the Uhuru Highway traffic and it's a domino effect. It's not working right now, but we'll see. Kasarani Mwiki Road, for some reason, was commissioned, but nothing has been done. So the increasing number of vehicles on the road as of this week means that that road is going to see some issues, and it's already seeing them. So people are getting stuck, not being able to get out. It's a mess. Matatus are carrying excess passengers, guys. Don't be one of those who will be caught out. At least put your mask on and don't get into a matatu that's already full. Remember, it's supposed to be carrying at half capacity. That's the problem that we see this morning. Okay, so those are our traffic tips this morning. Let us know what you see. Spice FM KE. Let's keep it moving.
This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications
expert. Thank you very much for tuning in to Spice FM, wherever you are around the world. In Nairobi, 94.4. In Malindi, 97.7. Nyeri, 90.9. 96.7 in Eldoret, 96.0 Nakuru and the regions. 102.5 Kisumu, Mombasa, 87.9. Worldwide, www.spicefm.co.ke, Spice FM KE on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube. And also join the conversation on Instagram, Spice FM KE. Like all of those platforms. They're ours. All right. So now let's talk about the bills. And this is something we touched on in the first hour at 6 o'clock when we were talking about insurance and all. People who have tested positive for COVID-19, they have been taken through treatment. And the treatment basically is isolation. So you're taken to isolation. A majority of the people who have gone through this treatment and recovered, and those that have been declared recovered, exhibited mild symptoms. And then they went home. Many of them, and we're now starting to see bills coming out of the Kenyatta University Teaching and Referral Hospital, showing that these people were there. They had tested positive. They kept there was nothing else that was being given. Maybe once in a while they get some gaggle here and there. Just gaggle this. I'll have to and then after about 2 weeks, they're tested once, negative. Tested again within 24 hours, negative. you are negative, you're certified negative, you're free to go. However, Abu Angalia, somebody is given a bill ranging from 40,000 and above shillings, and they're wondering, so what do you mean now? Why? We have seen these cases coming out of KU, and we haven't seen these cases coming out of Mbagathi. So what is happening? Is it that Mbagathi is free and KU is not free? Is it that, have you been told from the very beginning, if you fall sick, this is at your own cost? Is the government footing this bill? The lack of clarity on this is raising a lot of concern. Now, we saw yesterday some people who are at the KU threatening to commit suicide, basically sitting at the balconies and saying, I am not going to be frustrated like this. I have been released, but I cannot be let go. Why? I have a bill to pay. What exactly is wrong? What bill do I need to pay and why?
And this is against a backdrop where the Mombasa County government is actually declaring and has said so very clearly in the paper that they will foot the bills for any and every COVID-19 patient. Yes. In fact, this is one of those cases where I need to read so that it is stated. Expenses incurred by people under quarantine over COVID-19 in Mombasa will be paid by the county government, Health Executive Hazel Koitaba has said. Koitaba said the county will also foot the bills of patients of COVID-19 treated in public hospitals, especially at the Coast General Hospital. This will be a big relief for more than 200 people quarantined in various facilities in the coast and some of the 79 patients being treated at the Coast General Hospital. We will isolate and treat them at our own cost, Ms. Koitaba said on Thursday, adding that the county had intensified its response by setting up more isolation centers.
So in some cases you're paying, in some cases you're not. In some cases when you're going in, you're not being told that you're going to pay at the end. And then you finish your treatment and you're told now go home, but here's a bill. This is where this conversation
gets a little crazy, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Because you're asking, it's the same country. Why isn't there a simple, uniform way of saying, look, with COVID, this is what we're going to do?
Why is it so difficult to do this? Why is it, this is the thing. Why is one county able to do it and say that we're not even talking about treatment, at quarantine level. At quarantine, we're taking care of it. If you must be, is that not what you said? At quarantine level, we're taking care of it. It will be paid. In another county, mandatory quarantine, you have to pay for it. Same country. And then you get treated, even going into isolation. In one facility, you pay. In another facility, the government takes care of it. So what is it? Which one is it?
The case that Eric gave, you see, Kenyatta University is a public university. So unless they're telling us that the hospital is a private university, a private hospital. But that's not true, because Moi Referral Hospital is a public hospital attached to a public university. Kenyatta National Hospital is a public hospital attached to a public university. So what story is this that we're being told? Because this is where the lack of clarity comes in. Because you have a situation where you're trying to explain something and not explaining it very well. In fact, you're muddying the waters as you try to explain.
No. This is the problem, and we're talking about this. When you do things like that you make quarantine punitive, and then even after that, you do get sick, and then you have to be in hospital, and then you realize that the people who are telling you that they were in hospital actually didn't have any symptoms. There's nothing really that was happening to them, right? Over this two-week period, they were just sitting.
It was isolation.
Right, having a meal away from everybody else 3 times a day, and then maybe you get a gargle every now and then, but there's really nothing wrong with you. The other people outside of those 4 walls of these facilities, there is no way in hell that you're going to tell them to present themselves for testing and then further quarantine and isolation. Even if they're sick, my friends, they will stay at home.
They will
not come out. And there's a danger that lies therein, because if they would affect them, if they would infect other people in their in close proximity to them, you're going to have something crazy going on. But that's what it does to people's psyche. When you say that, actually this is what is going on in one county, and in another county is something totally different is happening. What is it? What is the yardstick that we're using for all of this? It can't be that way. So here, and you have a different problem on your hands. People are standing at a window or balcony and saying they're going to throw themselves down because they can't afford to pay. Mind you, every day the bill continues to increase.
Every extra day, yes.
The bill continues to rise. What are people supposed to do? Which one is it? It's like we're fighting so many battles at the same time, and something that could have
Not
been
battles,
so easily
unnecessary
something that would have been easily avoided by just saying what it is from the very beginning. Come, I don't understand. Is it so hard to open your mouth? Is it so difficult to open your mouth and say, this is actually what is going to happen? Tell people from the get-go so that nobody is confused. We have confusion all about, there's this issue. Okay, what it actually means is this. All right, so when we say that the government is going to take care of your bill at all public facilities, what we actually mean is this, that all public facilities are not actually public facilities. Come on, what are we doing?
There's cost sharing in public facilities. Or zero cost sharing, it's all your cost.
The thing weak me, I beg. I don't know.
It's the problem with this whole thing is the communication that comes out of it, and it appears like it's not even clear at the very top. This emergency response committee headed by Mutahi Kagwe, it appears like it also is not really sure what exactly it's rolling out.
There you go. That could be the problem, Eric.
We have quarantine facilities. They haven't thought through, like, so quarantine at own cost. So what is the cost? All right, isolation. We have now come up with extra bed capacity at KU. When we get somebody who tests positive, now we are taking them to KU. You are the one who decided to take them to KU. Okay? They go to KU, and when you finish, you give them the bill that you've decided they should pay. What is this?
This is true.
Is
Communication 101. Communication 101. You cannot communicate something of which you do not know. You can't. It's not possible. You yourself are not aware of what's going on. It is very difficult to pass on that information.
Yep.
That's why we see a lot of what we're seeing now, because it was not clear from the get-go. And I think what needs to happen is that you need to take a step back, do an audit of all these things that you're telling people at the same time.
But do you really think the Ministry of Health don't know what they're doing? They do. These people, they do. This is deliberate.
So they're sabotaging people. Intentional.
They know that
intentional sabotage is what's going on.
That ministry is full of people who understand anything and everything. These things they know.
Understanding things on paper, and I think we've also come up with that conclusion, CT. Understanding things on paper. When they sit in that war room and they come up with protocols and measures, and very well done. When it comes to implementation, which is why you start answering and looking at the fine print and seeing what could go wrong here. Let's play several scenarios.
Eric,
worst case, best case. Not in the global fight of COVID, but in the everyday things. What could go wrong if we tell people curfew starts at 7 p.m. tonight? What could go wrong?
Nothing.
The first thing that you have to think, what could go wrong is the first thing is that people may not have been prepared to be at home by 7 p.m. tonight.
Maybe somebody was traveling back. Maybe somebody was
there
leaving.
Are people yes. What could go wrong? You discuss all those things and say,
all right, we've had already,
this is, already. That's what happened on the first day. 7 p.m. tonight. So people
slept on the
are
road.
just locked up everywhere. You're wondering, so I wanted to leave work at 6 because I needed to finish my work, and then I go home, and then you're told 7 p.m. tonight, you should be out. But I'm just boarding a matatu at 7. And there's no matter, all these things. What could go wrong? They haven't thought about it. All right. So what is it that we're talking about, these isolation centers? What could go wrong? One, information mishandling and mismanagement of information. When somebody comes in, do we explain to them what is expected, what is going to happen to them? When they're there and they're not receiving any medication, do we explain to them why they're not receiving any medication? Do we explain to them why they're still testing positive despite not having any of those symptoms that we've told them before? Are you coughing? No, I'm not coughing. Do you have a fever? No, I don't have a fever. Are you feeling joint? No, I don't. Did you travel? No. But you're testing positive and you're not giving you any medicine. Should let me go home then? No, you need to stay here. Explain. Mm-hmm. And the problem is when you don't explain all these things, that's why we end up with people at KU. They've been taken there. They have said, all right, so I tested positive. It's okay, I understand. I need to be away from my family for a while until I test negative. I've tested negative.
I'm still here.
Thank God. You're given a bill. Huh? At this point is when you're, was this simulated at that war room at Afia House? It wasn't, clearly.
Nobody had, look, we can tell you for sure now that nobody really had the conversation end to end. It was just a matter of, okay, isolation center, check. Quarantine center, check.
How many do we have? Are we following WHO? WHO guidelines. You need to have an isolation center. This is what you need to have in that isolation center. How many medical personnel per person? How many people per medical person? All those things. Check. Practically on the ground.
Eric, you've understood
things are
it,
different.
but take this discussion. The people who implement these things are not in those high-level committee meetings. They are told what to do, and they know exactly what they are going to do.
They know what to
They're
do, but
told-
they know exactly what they will do
Yes.
or not do.
So they also know what they're going to tell the people who give them the job. Say, Dr. This one we've done. Yes, we moved this. In fact, come let us show you.
Lakini unajua hawa watu hawakai kwa room zao.
Yes, very difficult, but let's just go in the mask. These are masks we have bought in your store where we put them. You don't go to examine whether those boxes are actually full or not. Okay. You are talking about a cabal. You are talking about a system of extortion, of exploitation, of thievery that is so entrenched. They are so polished. They know what to do to the T. They know how to message it. They know how to run circles around you. So when you come, they simply sit and observe you. Then they don't even worry. Yes, so okay. They realize.
So conscience is dead.
Bado anaongea tu.
Conscious, what conscious?
Dead. Didn't exist.
Unajua minister anakuja kesho, so just
Anataka nini ifanyike? Yes.
sawa.
When I tell you they know what they're doing, they do know. If you've seen initiatives that the government rolls out countrywide for TB, for this, malaria day, for those things are rolled out and they work. They work. They do what they're supposed to do. People are marshaled in 2 to 3 days. It is done. That is far more complex than what we're talking about here. Far, far more complex. It is done. This one, you know what? It is clear. You come from a trip, we isolate you, we test you, blah, blah, blah. If that testing doesn't take place as we've been told. But it is reported, it is done. If you've caught with curfew, there's a procedure. What we're discussing is not difficult. So if it is appearing to be difficult, it means there's somebody who's deliberately making it difficult. And you can't manipulate something of this nature unless you understand it. Because you know, this is what the guy will want to see, you tell him this. This is what will happen, we'll tell him this. And believe me, they'll walk you around and tell you stories and look and say, hey man, these people are working hard. Zero.
Hakuna kitu.
Zero.
Put them in a program and this roll out the same thing and say, now this is a Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation program.
Yes,
So come together, we are doing this, and you'll be getting a stipend of this much. How will things work?
Our people will work.
Volunteerism will acquire new meaning. People, money is involved.
And they'll work hours.
They'll work. They'll say, as we're committed to working for the country, so just tell us what we need to do, we will do.
We will do it.
Public statement.
Ngapi?
This thing that you're offering, you can't, if I do overtime, you think you can't offer.
So it's all about the money.
It's all about the Benjamins, baby.
Yes.
At the end of it. And then we have people who are at KU, they are stuck there. Basically, they're in now.
Some thoughtless instructions has been given.
They've gone through treatment, now they're in detention.
I can't. I don't know.
Lipa bill.
And you know how they justify it? Say, guys, why are you worrying? The big shots have taken theirs. Okay?
Hii sasa ni yetu.
Now this one is ours.
In
We
yetu.
want to put it practical. So, wamesema PP, okay, what you do, they come up with the agenda. This one, what you do, it's always what you do.
Yeah.
This one, what you do, yes. And so when you actually visit randomly, because you don't really know, it looks like things are working. They're not working at all. What you've been told and what it costs and what is being done and what it costs, 2 different solar systems. Completely.
Oh, yeah, Mutahikagwe.
We did warn him that he's walking into shark-infested waters and his people are going to run circles around him. Now this one, when you've left out the people who want his job, who will make him appear look good and then now ensure that he doesn't look good. Those praises people who are heaping on, they landed badly on some people. How? What?
Managing this thing very well.
Okay,
Managing
let's see.
what?
Yeah.
Okay, 17 minutes after 8. This is the situation. Let's do this conversation. Taking a look at the weather shortly.
All right, taking a look at Nairobi weather this morning, let's see how it may have changed or remained the same. Okay, so we have partly cloudy conditions, mostly cloudy conditions. Nairobi is likely that the rain will check in quite early at 17 degrees, highs of 24 and lows of 16. In Nyeri, it's partly cloudy at 17, highs of 23 with showers in the afternoon. There'll be thunderstorms in Nakuru later on with highs of 24, currently standing at 17 degrees and mostly sunny. Eldoret, at mostly sunny conditions at 15 degrees, will have highs of 22 and lows of 13. 21 degrees and partly cloudy in Kisumu, highs of 27 with rain showers expected for most parts of today. Malindi, light showers being experienced at 27 degrees. It'll warm up to 29 with thunderstorms later and drop down to a low of 24. In Mombasa, light rain showers at 26 degrees. Thunderstorms expected later as well with highs of 28 and lows of 25. Taking a look into Dar es Salaam at 27 degrees, it's mostly cloudy. Thunderstorms forecasted for the afternoon, highs of 29 and lows of 24. It's 20 degrees and mostly cloudy in Kampala. Rain showers expected later as well, highs of 25 and lows of 20. Johannesburg is 10 degrees and light rain showers being experienced. The first rains this season, highs of 13 and lows of 9. And finally, Lagos at 26 degrees. It's clear skies all through. Highs of 33 and lows of 26.
Spice up
21
your
minutes
life.
after 8. This is the Situation Room. It's Kenya's biggest conversation. The conversation this hour is on the lack of clarity on the treatment for COVID-19 in Kenya. So when people test positive for COVID-19, they are taken into isolation centers. Across the country, we have isolation centers. In Nairobi, we know especially of two, Mbagathi Infectious Diseases Unit. We also know of the KU, Teaching and Referral Hospital. In every county, there is an isolation unit that's been set up. And this is separate from the quarantine centers. So quarantine and detention, Kano. Isolation, treatment, Kano. Quarantine is very clear when you're going in at own cost. Treatment, no issue of own cost comes up at all until the point of discharge. And we've seen this with the patients at Kenyatta University Teaching and Referral Hospital who have been told that you need to pay a bill. One of them is a security guard at Lenana School who contracted COVID because Lenana has also become one of the quarantine facilities, got COVID positive, was taken into isolation, stayed for 14 days, received no medication, just their bed. It was a full board accommodation. And at the end of the full board accommodation, 42,000 shillings bill. That's what they were expected to pay. We have also seen other people who are saying the same. They have received a bill and they're being told to pay this bill, failure to which you will not leave this facility. Some of them yesterday, there was a video that was going around on social media with them basically saying, wait, if you want us to die, let's just jump out of this 8th floor, 4th floor and just jump to our deaths because munataka nifanye nini? Sina pesa.
Where are they supposed to get
What do you
it
want?
from? I think it needs to be very clear what is paid for, what is not paid for. If you're going into a private facility, then it is clear that you're going to handle your bills. But the government has come out and said, and Dr. Mercy Korir can confirm this for us when we speak to her later. But that is what it was supposed to be. In a private facility, there you go in knowing that you're taking care of your own bill. In a public facility, a government, facility, which they've already, earmarked, they know this is what is going to be, then you know that you're not paying a dime for your treatment. And this was one of the issues where they said that the bulk of the funding or the bulk of the money that they're receiving is to take care of those who've been sick in hospital. And that's where the money was going. So there shouldn't be any confusion about this. It really shouldn't be.
At all. It should also be very, very clear. And those that are in those facilities should just be let to go. One of the things that we also have is the fund. The Jane Karuko Fund. What's it called again? It's a Kenya COVID Fund, okay? The one chaired by Jane Karuko. It has some senior captains of industry from the country, bankers. Mohamed Ersi is a member of this team. They have so far raised 1.288 billion shillings in terms of donations, and you can donate via M-Pesa or they have bank details. They are where the areas of focus are supply of medical facilities and equipment, and also supporting vulnerable communities with their immediate needs, including food. Okay? Now, so this money is going to look at medical facilities and equipment. This is for the health centers, and then support the vulnerable communities with their basic needs, including food. Can we say that people who are in these facilities are also the people who require to be sorted out by this fund? But why do we need to go to this fund anyway? There's money. The government has money.
And they're receiving
CCTV
more and more every
us
day.
the government has money.
The government has
40
money.
billion shillings has been earmarked to fight COVID-19 in various forms. A lot of that money is going directly into the health. It's going directly at addressing the issues that we need to address in fighting COVID-19 health-wise.
All the money that
PPEs,
came in from the
purchase
World
of-
Bank, all the
all
money
of
that
it
came in
is
from the
going
World
there.
Bank was going towards health.
So why can't we just say, so treatment, go into this facility. After all, the only thing that we're giving you in this facility is food. So the only thing that government is doing is giving you a bed and feeding you on a daily basis for 14 days and then conducting the test. So we have bought the test kits. So those ones tick. And then we're also saying that we've bought food. Why can this money from the government just go and sort out people at KNH, people at Mbagathi, people at KU, people wherever in the country, Mombasa, everywhere? As long as you're in this isolation facility, just come in and go out. What is the problem, though?
The problem we know, and we've discussed it, when people are used to not doing what they're supposed to do, and now it's not only that they're being called upon to do what they're supposed to do, but they're being asked to show evidence of having done. Previously, people don't ask. That's how you've had all these fantastic cases of monies that are mind-boggling coming up. Now they're being asked, okay, where is it? You've said this, where is it? You've collected this money, where is it? Again, the Jane Karugu Commission, or
Fund.
yes, the Harambee Committee, the intentions are wonderful, and what they purpose to do, wonderful. It just can't stay at being wonderful. We are not there piloting by giving money, 2,000 shillings each to these vulnerable households on a weekly basis.
Yep.
That must be applauded. But you must do more. You must tell us in advance.
Do we know that they're piloting? We've heard about it.
Yes, they are piloting, as we have heard. I am waiting to hear from people who will tell us and call and tell us, this money is true, we've received it. I'm waiting to hear from reports from the people who are supposed to oversee it. I'm waiting. But good faith here, as I say, Roho Safi, they have said, okay, now, how long are they going to be collecting money, and how long are they going to be telling us they're working on it? This COVID, is not dancing to this tune.
And this 1.9 billion shillings, 1.2 billion shillings that they've collected. Yeah, part of it is money from coming from government agencies. Like, remember the DPP's office saying, this is how much you are, from the money recovered,
from corruption. Yeah.
put it back in
There,
there.
Eric, is there a better opportunity than now? Anyone who seems to have these tons and oodles of money they can't explain,
Just put it there.
take it. And then, when COVID has come to an end, you can come and complain and tell us how we took your money, and then you explain to us how you got it in
How
the
we
first
got
place.
it in the first
But
place.
it's sitting there. You see the point is, the painful point is, this money is sitting. It is literally sitting. Take it. It can't be explained easily. Explain it easily later.
And
Take
here
it.
you have a situation where you need the money. It's
Man,
clear that
and
you
don't
need the
we
money.
need the money?
Move it then. Why is it such
You
a
have
difficult decision to make to get this money moving, to get these things done? Because don't we look like a bunch of circus clowns trying to put on big floppy hats and a big red nose at some point, where we're dealing with very serious issues here, where you need. Do you know the kind of PR nightmare it would be if you actually had people tossing themselves off a balcony because they're unable to pay a bill in a public facility
one
when the
person.
government
Not two,
told you that they were
one.
going to sort it out? Do you know what a mess that would
It'll
be?
be a disaster of profound consequences.
I'm telling you, it would be terrible. So why not something like that you can sort out? And people have been robbing this country of money in the billions for the last how many years? And you can't pay 40K for somebody to come out of a hospital. I beg, look, the thing
Why
is,
even
I
pay?
don't know. It just
Why
I can't.
even pay? The universities are not in session. Start there.
And then it's a public facility, so essentially you're paying the bill for this guy, so you're
Yes,
paying yourself.
Exactly.
So what are we talking
And
about?
When I say there's money, I'm not being facetious. There is money.
How much money is required to run this facility? We are only talking about catering services. Let's be very clear.
Because it's not medicine you're giving
There's no
them.
medicine.
They're sleeping there and eating.
You go there, you stay, you
The facility existed before COVID.
That's it. So the only thing that we're
And the
doing
workers
is
who existed before
there's
COVID.
PPE. Every time somebody comes and brings you water, they're wearing one PPE, they walk out, they discard that PPE. Somebody comes again and they're taking your temperature, they discard that PPE. 8,000. Sawa, okay. But then you're also feeding this person. So because we've bought the PPEs and that money has already been earmarked for purchase of PPEs for the medical professionals. Meals.
What is the food that
What
they're
is
giving
this?
them? Sirloin steak and filet
4,000
mignon.
bob for a bed
What are they eating?
at KU. 4,000 bob.
Filet who?
Filet mignon is what they're eating. What are they eating?
Filet mignon.
I can't with both of you.
Oh, fillet.
Please.
Any fillet.
8:30.
Okay. The Mignon variety.
Mignon variety.
It's 8:30.
Surely.
Can't.
And it's just a meal.
Yes, one
The
meal.
musician was telling us the other day, this meal surely is
know.
chapati madondo
Eh.
and rice.
How much is it?
Kenyans know that meal and they eat it every
Tunajua.
day.
Hey,
We know exactly what it
Who are
is.
you
Yes.
cheating? Stop it.
Chakula 80 bob, then you give me a bill of 4,000 shillings. Those are jokes. Those are jokes. It doesn't matter, by the way, whether it's a tax, this money is coming from the National Treasury or it's coming from people directly, well-wishers, or people paying for themselves. That is a very high bill.
Eric, consider when we make a budget, even if there's a deficit, we are told how we want to finance it. Is that not so? So the budget is not for this month of COVID. It's budget for the whole year.
It's for the whole year.
So the money ought to be available for the whole year. Is that not so?
Yes.
Okay. Have we finished the entire budget? We have money. So don't be bought. Don't be
Our
caught. in
financial
Let them
year
tell
is
us
ending
something
in just
else.
about, 60 days?
Yes.
Let them say something else. You'd
And we
rather
don't
say
have
something
money.
else. That,
Nope.
Shauri
no,
yenu.
but that no money story.
Danganya
Not
toto
floating.
jinga. Sumuni nandururu. Ongeza penny moja. Nunua perement. It's 8:30. Let's take a look at traffic.
Right. Okay, let's see what the situation on the roads is like right now. It's not much different from where we had off last time. It's easing out on Haile Selassie Avenue today, getting into the CBD. Won't be too hard for you. Mombasa Road is looking good now. That seems to have opened up. Mwiki Kasarani still giving us a problem this morning, guys. The road is in deplorable state. It was a few months ago now that they said they were going to work on that. Well, no such thing. Not yet. COVID, please understand. That means down that there is heightened traffic and it's spilling over onto the Thika Superhighway and the Eastern Bypass because of that. We'll have a look at what the rest of the roads look like, but for now, you should be able to get into most areas and out without too much of a headache. Spice of MKE, reach us on Twitter. Let us know what you see.
It's 28 minutes to 9 o'clock. This is a situation and it's Kenya's biggest conversation. We're talking about, clarity of all these things. Who pays? How much does it cost? Why should we be paying these things? How much should we be paying? Among the things that we're talking about is, all right, so the daily number crunching that happens by the daily briefings. Leo kuna briefing, yes. Fellow Kenyans, in the last 24 hours, we tested this. Out of those, this tested positive. These were Kenyans. These were in Nairobi. These were a number in Mombasa. These were in Kilifi. And we are seeing new numbers increasing again from Mandera. So that we get. The rest of the briefing, maybe the Mutahi Kagwe team could be doing, is answering some of these questions. And bringing the chairperson of the KU Teaching and Referral Hospital, Professor, what's her name?
I do not know her name.
The one who was a former VC of KU. Come, the KU membership, come, leadership, come and tell us, Professor Olive, come and tell us, this is what is happening in our facility, and this is why we require people to pay.
But Olive Mugenda stopped being...
She's the chair of the board.
She's the chair of the board now for the
of
hospital.
The hospital.
Yeah. You see?
Right?
Incumbency.
Bring them. Bring these people, let them explain to us. Bring Jane Karuku and tell her, Let her come and tell us, so we have raised this amount of money. We are already piloting. We have sent this amount of money to these people. These are the challenges that we encountered. Somebody who says that they're not vulnerable, but their number was in our database and they received this money. They sent it back to us. We are at that point where we just want to fine-tune these things, and then we shall roll it. Explain all these things. This is what should be happening on these daily briefings, I think, because it's clear that we have
The minister shouldn't
issues.
carry this burden. He's given information. Those people give information. Come and explain.
Come
it
and
to us.
explain.
But of course, he is the minister. He's not the director he is the minister. Let these other individuals who actually run these facilities, if they have 2 or 3 experts, come and explain it. We have time to listen. Explain.
We're at home.
We are at home. Explain.
And every day we're waiting for this briefing, by the way.
Tell us.
Religiously, yeah?
And you have a whole day, work day, to explain this. Choose the time. Come and explain and tell us. The media will tell you at this time, so and so from this organization is coming to brief us.
Coming.
Every hour they'll tell you until it arrives. We hear it. Then we know. So if you're posing questions, we're not asking the minister so that he can go and ask his people who can ask, Bring that person, we ask you directly, you explain to us directly.
And at some point also, Mutahi Kagwe will need to get out of the boardroom and say, all right, so there are so many things that I need answers for, and I am not seeing like I'm getting the right answers. Because I'm giving this information here at this press briefing, I'm receiving this information in the boardroom, and then I'm seeing on social media somebody wanting to jump. Or I'm seeing people jumping over walls. What is happening? And I'm being told that people are not observing these rules. I need to go to KU myself.
Or I'm being told Kemri.
I need to go to Kemri and see what exactly is happening.
Why this delay? Why this result delaying?
Let
the whole thing be explained.
A lady has been serialized for weeks now by the nation.
Talking about her experience.
And she says, this is what is happening. So we've been here, we've stayed here for so many days, and we start seeing strangers. And you're wondering, where did strangers come from? Oh, kumbe, these are people who are arrested and they've been brought to the same place. And we all are going to be bundled and told, you did not follow the guidelines.
The curfew guidelines.
Extend another. We've been here for so many days. I think this is the time where that team that sits at the top, CS Mutahi Kagwe, Dr. Mercy Mwangangi, Dr. The other CS, Dr. Rashid, Dr. Amoth, all of them need to just say, where we end leo, KU, where we end when we're meeting in the afternoon, we have first-hand information from the ground.
And the minister himself must pull a Matiangi.
Yes.
He must just go and visit and say, okay, today I'm going here.
Impromptu. What's happening?
You have to do that because the thing is, it has been said that there's so many balls in the air, right? Everybody's trying to juggle so many things at the same time. But you're not alone. You have other people whose job it is to do these things. And at this point, they either do their job or, as you said yesterday,
fire.
Exit. If you're told something and you say, go and don't tell them when. They suddenly find you've arrived and you want to say, I want to visit this department and I want to see ABCD. You will see for yourself exactly what happens. The running around in different directions that you will see. It'll be a feat worth observing. But the truth of the matter is that we have a system where people will play you. The truth will be hidden, will be maneuvered, it will be tossed about. So you receive a bit of the truth. But what's really happening? No.
Far from the truth.
Yes.
And this is deliberate sabotage by officers who ought to be doing their job, but they're not doing that.
And they haven't done it.
And they know very well, this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm not going to do it. Mimi sijisikii leo kwenda kazini.
Hajisikii.
Sijisikii leo, nasikia nimechoka. Unajua jana tulikaa hapo sana mpaka nilitoka hapo 6:30. Watu ni wasumbufu. I was there in a meeting. They kept asking the same question, these people. Same question. When are we going? When are we going? When are we going? So you have told you to count 14 days.
And do they think this job of ours is easy? Why don't they come and do it?
And come and do it.
What are you employed to do? You know.
And then you're sending a report back to the top. You're saying, this is what is happening in this facility. You're sending this report not from the facility, but from the comfort of your home somewhere.
You haven't moved.
No. Saying, and you told them that you went and you did your own, right? You went and you observed and you saw and then you write a report. It's a lie.
You know, the Ministry of Health, if you look at the card of employee who qualifies to be labeled the community health worker, you would be surprised at the amount of work officially that one community health worker is supposed to cover. A lot of the community health work that you see came into being and was factored because of partners. People who came in to assist through funding, whether it was PEPFAR, whether it was some other funding, because they knew the need. If you work with people in community, you'd better have community health workers. It has been proven in countries like Vietnam that employing community health workers is one of the best ways of ensuring that public health is actually practiced as it ought to. And then you'll find some pushback from some medical busybody who has never taken time to understand what this community health work does, because he read it last when they're doing community health, read it last when he had a unit in epidemiology, but has never actually seen it in practice.
Bus.
And then they want to make decisions because they are the doctor. The solutions to the problems that we keep bringing up are not complicated. Neither are they as expensive as people would like us to think. Because the solutions are preventative, not curative. There is no system in the world that can cope with a curative system that waits for people to be unwell, then you treat. Look at what's happening with COVID, where you're dealing now you're curing. You're not preventing, you're curing. That's why the systems have been overrun, because you need to cure. If you are simply preventing, the numbers coming to hospital would be very few.
Yep.
But now the numbers are many. No healthcare system on this planet can cope with that.
No.
None. But it means you have to deal with the problem before it gets to the point where it requires that hospital attention. And we understand this. We know this. We've had problems. We deal with these things every year. Cholera will rear its head. Every year you'll hear of cases where there's a spike in HIV. Every year, without fail. Every year you'll hear a spike in dengue fever. Every year you'll have a spike in malaria. Every single year. And we cope. Once in a while you get the impression the healthcare system is almost being overrun, but they've never been overrun. The reason is because they've understood how to manage this thing at the community level.
At the community level.
Down there.
It's managed. So it's a problem it raises, but it's sorted out.
Let's go to the phone lines. Lydia, good morning.
Good morning, Spice FM. Thank you, as usual, for your good efforts in brainstorming. I wanted to say about this coronavirus, everything is about pay money, pay money, pay money. But the things that nobody's talking about, helping us to live healthily. Like there's a doctor who's a throat and brain head surgeon. He says to keep ourselves healthy is to eat fruits like lemon, oranges, avocado, pineapple. These give us the vitamins. A friend told me, but when I gave this suggestion, the friend is saying, only God is the one to cure. I said, but God gave us this food to cure us. And if we don't want to eat them, then we are to blame. Not the doctor's not your boss. Our blood cells are our boss. So we should feed them the right food that God has made if we want God to cure us.
You're right. Thanks so much for that contribution, Lydia.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
0719-012-600. Join in the conversation. So now we're talking about people who are stranded in these facilities. They are being told that they ought to pay a bill. What should we do now? People are there. They don't have money. They cannot afford to pay this bill. The government is saying, well, you're supposed to be footing this bill. What should we do? What's the next step for that person who's sitting there? Do we do a harambe for them? Do we march to Afi House on their behalf?
There's no
Do we storm KU? There's no social distancing in the marching. do we storm KU?
No. The various ministries that are involved in ensuring that these services are provided, just do your maths. Government usually gives allocations to all these government institutions. Many times these allocations delay, and it's how you explain things not being done. It could be the case now that some of these institutions didn't get the allocation that they were supposed to get. So perhaps if we clear the air on this one and we know these institutions have been given money and it's X amount, so we know what they have. The expenses that they've incurred, we know. But again, even as we point fingers at this institution and tell them that they need to style up, we need to also ask them to give us information as to where they stand. If you're a government institution, there's money the government allocates to you every financial year. How much have you received and what have you done with it? That's number one. Number two, these are odd times. Are they also doing what other people are trying to do in saying, folks, we cannot pay you the salary that we've been paying you all along? Something very basic. The things we couldn't do, we need to do. But the things that are germane to our problem here, for instance, is healthcare. This is what we can afford to give our workers. If you're a quarantine center, If you're an isolation center, anybody who works there from the guard at the gate to the cleaner, we say, look, folks, this is what we'll give you. Meaning, reorganize everything you've done to be in tandem with what is needed during this period and announce it so that people know. Make it open so that anyone who wishes to cross-check can cross-check.
Yep.
We live in an opaqueness and it is encouraged. You're never really sure. You're sure it has been stated, but whether exactly what is being said is true, you're not sure.
Ben calling in from Udaya. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, I just want to make a bit of contribution.
Go ahead.
Yeah, one is that as we talk about the National Emergency Response Committee, it is basically the Ministry of Health that is supposed to do its homework first. As it goes to the NERC, they already have the issues well.
Yep.
But now as we are looking at the fight COVID, we are like more or less doing what you're calling firefighting. And for me, the MOH is kind of now, it has actually let loose the COVID war, in that it is now taken over by the police. And that rather than, having the frontline people who are supposed to do the enforcement, these are the public health officers. There's a public health officer who is supposed to be on the front line, and if there's any action that requires enforcement, then it is the
security agency now comes in.
That is under the guidance of the public health officer.
Right.
So we are not seeing the public health officer in front, but they have also now just let the campaign loose. Now, two things that I also want to talk about is the issue of quarantine and isolation. Because isolation is when you have already been confirmed as having been a positive case.
Yes.
And so you are taken into isolation. Then when the contact tracing is done, that is now when you pick the people who have been in contact with the case being taken out to quarantine.
Yes.
So it is a public health intervention. And so basically what we want is that once you go into a quarantine, is basically you are being observed and tested and assumed that you came into contact with a positive case, so you are likely to be positive. But then after this period, after being tested and being observed, and if you turn out to be negative, you are then allowed to go back home. But now we are using quarantine, which is supposed to be a public health intervention, to be more or less like a security military operation. And so in this case, people now fear.
Yep.
And what I found to be a little bit awkward is when the CAS and also the Rashid, they talk that the long arm of the law is going to catch up with you.
Yep.
Coming from a healthcare worker, that is wrong. Because you are supposed to be, people should be confident that if I go to a healthcare worker, they will take care of me.
Yep.
But when I tell them that the long arm of the law will catch up with you, then they also fear us. They start running away from you.
Because normally the long arm of the law, when it catches up with you, with consequences.
That's are the consequences. I mean, people now fear the police, and now if you start again speaking the same echo as if you are a police officer and not a healthcare worker, they will fear you also. Now, the next thing that I also want to just make a contribution on is the issue of vaccines. I think it is, as we talk now, Kenya is undertaking a vaccine trial for malaria. So vaccines and trials, I think it is not wrong. I think what we just did, I think for somebody to advise the government that it is a racist or whatever, somebody needs to explain in a technical term that a vaccine trial is possible in Kenya. But these are the parameters and what are the ethic reviews that my colleague was talking about. If we have to do this vaccine, these are the ethical considerations that we need to go through. So it is possible. But when we start putting, an arm of looking at it like as if it is racist or whatever, we are living with vaccines.
True.
Now, the final thing that I just want to talk about is the issue of the truck drivers. I mean, I said in the media that we are talking about a 40-kilometer stretch of truck drivers who have left all the way from Mombasa. Now they're waiting to be tested. Assume each and every truck driver has got 3 persons, the driver and maybe 2 turn boys. Those are 120 people.
Yep.
They have to eat, they have to sleep, they are interacting with people in Busia, and if they are waiting to be tested there, I mean, my best bet is that we are looking at an explosion in Busia.
Yep.
Because these people are interacting with the local women there, they are eating in the local hotels, they are, buying cigarettes and sharing cigarettes all over.
Yep.
So just assume 1 or 2 or 3 of the truck drivers are sick or they have COVID. I mean, what are we looking at? So unless we have this testing, done in a strategic way that either they are done, in fact, even all those truck guys should now be in some kind of a quarantine place so that they are not mingling with people all over.
Yeah.
Spreading as they wait to be tested. I mean, those are just contributions that I thought I needed to share with you guys.
Thank you very much. Valuable contributions, Ben.
All right, thanks.
How is Odaya this morning? Is it raining?
No, it's sunny.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Thank you very much. And
Thank you.
you're near the KNH annex?
Just around about there, yes.
All right. Asante sana and
Yeah.
have a good day.
Okay, thank you. Bye. Take care.
All right. 0719-012-600. Join the conversation this morning. We're talking about COVID-19, the efforts being made to combat COVID-19. And especially now when it comes to concerns being raised by those that have been taken into isolation, and they're saying that they're being told to pay a bill, being given a bill at the end of their treatment. They went in there, they were positive, COVID positive. They have gone through some days. They've now tested COVID negative, and they've been given a bill at a public facility. Is this what's happening there? This is all we're discussing this morning. Good morning, 10 minutes to 9.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to Spice FM.
Fellow Kenyans, let's work with the government. Let's help the government to understand where we are coming from. All right? Because, fellow Kenyans, in the last 24 hours, we have seen images from KU Teaching and Referral Hospital of people in isolation, people who have gone there because they tested positive for COVID-19. They have gone through treatment, which is not medication, but just staying in that isolation facility. And now they've tested negative and they've been told, you're free to go back home. But the management of the hospital is saying, no, you need to pay a bill. And the bill is at least a minimum of 40,000 shillings. 40K. In this day and age, 40,000 bob telling someone to pay. I think we need to help the government. Okech is in Kisumu. Good morning, Okech.
Good morning to you, Mr. Eric. How are you?
I'm very fine, thank you, Mr. Okech.
And the rest of the crew?
The rest of the crew are
and
fine.
they greet you.
Thank you very much. Now, I had a contribution. I would say that I personally sympathize with the situation of those of our friends in the quarantine centers concerning the cost. And I really hope that the government do something about it, help them, maybe subsidize the cost. The only thing I would condemn is what we saw yesterday, that some people are threatening people with suicide. Now, I understand that their situation could be worth invoking sympathy, but I think if they are not prosecuted for attempted murder, it will bring the impression that anytime you have a challenge and you want something done, you threaten people with suicide. Yeah. And I think we will be making an error in that regard. So I think something should be done about that, specifically to the extent that...
Are you saying you don't empathize with them?
I seriously empathize, and I think I started by saying that I feel so bad for their situation. What I don't want is the notion that if you want to solve your problems, you threaten people with suicide. Many people may buy into that. Yeah, that's the only thing I wanted to say.
Okay.
There's Mr. Okech, there's this little matter of why it is people get to the point where they want to commit suicide. In your opinion, do you think this is normal behavior?
It is not normal behavior, and I think it is as in they have thought better of it and decided that that's the only solution. It's
meaning they're in situations that are beyond their managing. By the time somebody doesn't seem to be concerned about their well-being and their staying alive, that person's mind has twisted and turned quite profoundly, and something has made it twist and turn. And this something is what we must deal with, and this something, and we thank you for your contribution, and this is something that we want to highlight and say, look, why are people getting to this stage? And if you look at it comes down to a bill. They went there, they don't have the means to pay, and then they're being told to pay, and they don't know what to do.
Exactly. That's why I think that the government should help them, should subsidize. Or if possible, they can look at case-by-case basis. Is this person really able or not? Yeah, but the government should also condemn by doing action, by taking some action against... Taking action against them. But, okay, let's also separate the two issues. I'm not sure whether you have that clearly. There is a quarantine where people are being taken into quarantine at own cost. And many of them, we're now talking about people who've been arrested because they flouted the regulations. And then there's the isolation. You test positive today for COVID-19, you'll be taken into isolation in this facility. And this is a hospital facility. Exactly.
All right. So the people who we saw yesterday at KU are people who had been tested positive for COVID-19. They were in the hospital. They were being taken care of. And then now they've tested negative. They've been told, you are now clear to go home. With all the trauma that they had gone through the past 14 or whatever number of days they were in that hospital facility, the excitement of thinking, oh God, I have finally recovered from this COVID-19 and now I'm about to go home. And then you're told, no, you need to pay a bill. Should we even be having an issue of the government should subsidize? The government should foot that bill.
Exactly. Should. In fact, I recall the first case number 0. Is it 0 and 1? I think the government started those guys.
Yep.
And if anything, they're the ones who came with that disease from abroad. I think I don't know what was the reasoning behind subsidizing their charges, but not these ones. I think
because the president always said that a government facility. They went to a public facility, and this is what we are saying now. In this case, Kenyatta University Hospital, is it a public facility or not? That information needs to be cleared up. And it needs to be made public. In this case, these individuals are at what we understand to be a public facility. If it is not a public facility, that information should be made known. If they needed to have paid, that should have been told to them in the beginning. Because the information that was made public in the beginning is that if you attend a government facility, the government will foot your bill. Do you see now?
And by the way, if I may question, are there isolation centers that are manned by private sectors? I thought the government takes all the cases.
There are private isolation centers.
You could opt to go to any of the private hospitals, and they also have their own isolation. There are some that have set up their own isolation centers.
So for KU, it's not clear.
It is not clear whether it is public or private.
And when it went private.
But interestingly enough, when it became a center, it was heralded by the government. So it was assumed that it was a government facility. Now, if it is not, that information has not been made clear.
Oh, yeah, I understand. But people should not threaten people with suicide.
No, they shouldn't even play a role here at all. The individual should not have to get to the point whereby they're asking themselves questions, to the point whereby they see the only option is to throw themselves off the 8th floor of a building. It's terrible in terms of PR for the government. They should have made their point clear in the beginning.
I also hear you and know what you're saying, okay. Asante sana for calling. Thank you. Have a good day.
and have a good day.
Thank you.
Coming to the top of the hour, you can continue the conversation on our social media platforms, Spice FM KE, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. And we'll be picking a few calls, and then as we also discuss the next issue in the next hour. City?
He who is unable to dance says the yard is stony.
I can just see that person trying to jig. And
This one.
Mawe mingi.
hapa kuna mawe. Hapa sasa watu wana dance aje hapa. Hata mtu hawezi nini vizuri.
If there were no stones, ha.
They will discover him.
You know, like last week when we were at that nini, I
See, I
danced.
showed
You
you.
should ask. You should ask
Ask
so and
the
so.
people who were there.
Yeah.
City was there. Just go and ask him. When you're free, just ask him.
Ask
He'll
him.
tell you.
And we danced for long, my friend. All right, coming up to 9 o'clock, this is a situation with Kenya's biggest conversation. Remember, our phone lines are open 0719 012 600. Good morning.
All right, it's looking pretty good around the way, as it were. Not much going on today on the roads. It's looking all right from Mombasa Road to the other end of the city on Thika Road. It looks fine, getting right out of what would be the little bit of traffic out that we are experiencing. Spice of MKE, let us know if you see anything, and we'll be sure to spread the word.
Traffic. This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu
Let's go
Oko,
to Mombasa and
Nigerian
speak
by
to
birth,
Tyrone. Tyrone,
Kenyan
good
by
morning.
choice.
Hey, good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm doing fine.
Mombasa kwambaje?
Poa tu, mvua kidogo tu.
Tunashukuru.
Yeah. Okay. As you look at, I was looking at that video yesterday. It's an embarrassment to the country. Yeah. You know, COVID didn't come. We didn't expect it. And I believe this is a pandemic that has found us when we least expected it.
Yep.
So when someone in a public institution like Kenyatta, is it Kenyatta University Hospital?
Yes.
Yeah, when someone is being asked to pay such amount in a public hospital, you know, it's not a good thing to the society, and the government isn't providing much to curbing this. That's why you see now the public is now, they are now saying, you're going to a channel now. People are now taking it for granted, because even if you see how Mutai Kagwe has been talking, people are now taking it. They just know what he will say next, you know?
Yeah.
So this pandemic should be, I think the government should be acting. They should not be taking jokes on it.
True.
Especially to the public and people who don't have money, you know? In the society, people are different. Some people are poor, some people are rich, you know? So like myself, if I'm taken to a quarantine and I'm expected to pay, and I don't have such kind of money, you know.
Yes.
That things will come into. So that I get my freedom. Like last week, I was almost arrested and I had to run away.
Why?
Hey, Tyrone.
Why did you need to run away, Tyrone?
You know, okay, I was jogging and had my mask on. So when the officer fought me and told me that you have mask kuja hapa.
Wait, you're wearing your mask and he's telling you Ujava mask.
Yeah, so he wanted money. So akaniambia, and then he told me that he needs 500, or I go for a 6 month, I don't know, 6 month what, quarantine, or I pay to 20,000.
6 months quarantine.
Yeah. So I was thinking.
So you outran him.
I don't have that 20,000.
So
I don't have that 500 that I was supposed to give him. So I had to run away.
This is very well. It's one of those funny stories, basically. You're wearing a mask and someone's telling, Ujava mask.
I was
surely.
Yeah.
It's called extortion.
How do you even have a conversation with this guy? Well, yeah, at least Tyrone, you could
okay.
run faster than him.
I tried pleading with him that I had my mask on,
Mm-hmm.
So he insisted that Java mask unaenda na wewe, until he called those guys with the Land Rover, kujeni tuko na wawili hapa. So what I did is that I ran away, So let these people not extort money from the public,
Yes, true.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Tyrone. Have a good day in Mombasa.
Thanks so much. Have a good day too.
Now let's get into the Kenyatta University Teaching and Referral Hospital. One person who's there, we're going to call him John for the purposes of this conversation. Good morning, John.
Good morning.
How are you, sir?
I'm doing good.
Mm-hmm.
It's good to hear that you're doing good. How long have you been at a KU hospital?
Yeah, I've been here since, first of all, I went to quarantine to KMTC, in KMTC.
Mm-hmm.
Then after 7 days, they moved me to KU isolation.
Mm-hmm.
You tested positive?
Then, pardon?
Did you test positive?
Yeah, I tested positive.
Okay.
But I had no symptoms. I had nothing. I have never get any medication.
Yep.
Yeah, so we have been staying here, sleeping, waking up. Nothing is going on.
On which date, John, sorry to interrupt you, on which date were you admitted at KU Teaching and Referral Hospital?
I've been here since date 6th.
6th of
April.
So 6th of April.
Yeah.
And then when did you test negative for the first time?
For the first time, after 14 days, I came here on 6th. Then on 20th, they tested me again.
Mm-hmm.
I became negative.
Okay.
And when we become negative, you have to be tested again after 24 hours.
Okay.
Then again, they told me that I have become positive again.
So 20th negative, 21st positive.
20th negative, 20th on 22nd, I became positive again.
All right.
Then again, now they have already tested me.
Mm-hmm.
And now I became now negative now.
When was the last test?
The last test was done day before yesterday.
This is on the 26th.
Yeah.
So now negative.
Both now, I became both negative now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what have they told you since then?
Now the problem we are facing now is about the finance. Because we just came from outside the country. And we just lose our job from there.
Okay.
So the company told us, now we cannot keep you here. You need to go home. The company bought for us the flight ticket without nothing, because we have for like 2-3 months we have not been working there.
Yeah.
Because there is no jobs due to coronavirus.
Yep.
So when we came here, the government told us that there is two ways to choose. There's a government facility and private facilities.
Okay.
So we decided to choose the government facility. We couldn't, because we couldn't be able to afford
the private one.
The hotel. Yeah, the private one. Now the issue we have here now is that when we reach here, from the quarantine, they told us it is free. Now here, They are giving us almost 70. Now my bill is almost now 88,000.
Sorry, just a minute. Let's start. When you got to KU, who told you that it was going to be free?
From the quarantine.
From the quarantine, they told you you're going to KU because now you're going into isolation. After your treatment, you will leave. You will not pay anything.
We will not pay anything.
Okay. So who then presented you with a bill?
Now the KU management is the one giving us the bill. Yeah, they are giving us the bill, and even the bill there. If I can even send you the bill, no one is.
What's the breakdown of that bill? What are they charging? What's the breakdown of the bill? What are they charging you for?
Actually, they are just saying the bed accommodation.
So accommodation, how much per day?
Per day is 3,135.
Times how many days so far?
For me, I have been here like now almost 26 days now.
Huh?
From the 6th of April to the 28th, 22 days.
22, yeah. 22
so
days.
22 days. Any medication that you've been given?
No. For me, I didn't have any symptoms, so I needed nothing.
So nothing from the pharmacy?
Yeah. The only thing they have ever given to us is only mouthwash. You just gargle and then throw it. That's all.
How many times have they given you that?
That one they have given me, when it is finished, I have taken 3 now.
Okay. How much are they charging for each?
That one, the 187.
So 187 times 3.
Yeah.
At KMTC, did you pay the bill for your quarantine there? You were there for 7 days.
No. He didn't pay anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
How much longer are you going to be at the KU hospital? Do you know?
So I don't know because now they are saying we have to pay so that we can be discharged.
But you've tested negative twice.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they have told you specifically that we have discharged you from this facility. If you pay the bill, you will walk.
Yeah, that is what they want. If I pay line now, I'll just pack my things and
You'll go home.
Yeah.
John, we saw videos yesterday from people who are also at the KU hospital.
Yeah.
Agitating and saying, look, we are not able to afford the kind of bills that we've been given. And then some of them were threatening to jump off the balconies.
Yeah.
Is this true?
Yeah, it is true because you know what they have done? Those people were in second floor. And they cannot be able to they have already closed all the exits.
Okay.
So they cannot even be able to come down. That's why they were trying to jump. Because they have been there like almost 4 or 5 days without coming out. It is staying in the room. Which government is this closing even the exit? So if there is a fire in the room, what these people they will die inside there. Why are you closing the exit?
That's a good point. Yes. So you're saying you're not allowed at all. Once you're in isolation, you stay in your room, don't come out at all.
Yeah, that is true.
So for the last 22 days, you haven't been outdoors at all.
No, for the few days we have been moving around. Maybe, but for now they have put all everywhere now the fence.
They've closed it off now.
Yeah, they have closed it off now.
Okay.
John, just run us through a typical day in an isolation ward. What happens when you wake up to the point when you go back to sleep?
When now we have in a room, there are those people who are staying alone in a very small cubicle room.
Okay.
Right. And again, we have another one where we have 8 people. It's like a ward, a normal ward. You have to stay like 8 people there.
Okay.
So there you just have the bed. So you just wake up. They bring you the tea at allowed 5 o'clock in the morning. So they'll just do the normal the temperature testing, and that's all. Then we have to wait for the food, breakfast, lunch, and the dinner.
So that's all the interaction that you have with the medical workers. When
Yeah.
are there rounds by, like, say, a doctor who comes round?
Sometimes we don't even see them the whole day.
Mm.
Yeah.
Is there any information that you're given, for example, some sort of counseling? You've been here for this long, you have tested positive for COVID-19. This is what it means, this is what we expect.
No, never.
Okay. So what is it looking like now? Are we waiting, from what you see, are you waiting for them to rescind this decision to ask you to pay this almost 70,000 shillings? Or are you looking for the money? What is it now? At which point do you stand right now, John?
For me now, I don't have even anyone to call to ask for money. And I have already spoken to the director of NAS, Mr. Edward here, because I told him from the beginning that even if you ask me anything, even I don't have money to get out from here to my home. So I told him from the beginning, I'm the one to, if I need to call someone, I have to call myself. For myself, because I don't have anyone to call outside there to help me.
Explain that, John. What do you mean you have nobody to call?
Because right now, I'm the breadwinner of the family.
Okay.
I'm helping my family. My brothers are still going to school. I don't have anyone. I'm the firstborn in the family, and the breadwinner.
Okay.
So if I call my mom and or my wife to pay me, no, it's just giving them pressure.
If you don't mind me asking you, John, how old are you?
I'm 35 years old.
Married with children?
Yeah.
How many children?
I have 3 kids.
And you say that you're also taking care of your siblings. How many siblings?
Yeah. I have 3 brothers. My sister is in Form 4 right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
In which country did you arrive from? Where had you gone to work?
From Dubai.
And for 3 months prior to coming back to Kenya, there was no work, basically.
Yeah.
So were you receiving a salary when you were still in Dubai?
No, when this all started, I'm working with a hotel in Dubai.
Yep.
So and if there is a sector which was affected, it is hotel industry.
Yep.
Because all the flight was cancelled. Because normally Dubai we normally survive with tourism, and if tourists are not coming, the hotels are closed.
Okay.
John?
Yes.
All right. So your employer is the one who paid for your flight to come back home?
Yeah, one-way ticket.
Just a one-way ticket?
Yeah.
If you were to speak to CS Mutahi Kagwe, and you were to speak to him directly, what would you tell him this morning?
What I will tell him is that he needs to take us like he's all her son, his son. What we are going through here, the people asking for money, it is not right. They need to listen to us. We don't have money, and if, even some of my colleagues are here.
Yeah.
They come from Mombasa. Even some, they are crying every day, asking, what did I came back here to do? That I could die in Dubai or go to any other country and stay there forever without coming to your place. What I would like to tell Mr. Mutai is that, please, try to solve our problem here. At this moment now. Other countries are taking care of the victims, corona victim. Why our country is not even thinking about us?
Okay.
Yeah.
John, thank you very much for speaking to us. Do you know how many you are in that facility?
Yeah, we are more than almost 100 people.
So over 100 people at KU facility.
Yeah.
Okay.
We wish you all the best, John. We'll keep getting in touch with you and seeing what kind of assistance we can also raise for you.
Thank you very much.
Asante sana and have a good day.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.
All right. The situation, it's Kenya's biggest conversation. We've just had a conversation with John, who's at the KU Teaching and Referral Hospital, has been there in isolation because he tested positive, was transferred from KMTC to KU on the 6th of April, has tested negative twice, has been discharged from the facility, but he faces a bill of 88,000 shillings, which is being told, you're not leaving this facility until you give us that money. He's saying, surely 88,000 shillings, so you take my arm, my leg, whatever.
Right, I don't have.
Take whatever. I don't have anything of that. 19 minutes after 9. This is the Situation Room. Kenya's biggest conversation. Taking a look at the weather shortly.
All right, taking a look how things have changed. Looking in Nairobi, partly cloudy conditions for most parts of the day. We'll see the rains come in early with highs of 24 and lows of 16. In Nyeri this morning, it is partly cloudy at 17 degrees, highs of 23 and lows of 15 with showers in the afternoon. Taking a look then into Nakuru, where it's mostly cloudy this morning, 18 degrees, highs of 24 and lows of 14, all cooled down by the thunderstorms. And then in Eldoret at 17 degrees, it's mostly cloudy, highs of 22 and lows of 13 with showers expected for most parts of the afternoon. And then looking into Kisumu at 23 degrees, showers in the afternoon with highs of 27 and lows of 20. In Malindi, it's still light rain showers for most parts of this morning at 27 degrees. We'll see highs of 29 and lows of 26. The sun will come out, but then will be covered by rain showers again later on. In Mombasa, 27 degrees, it's light rain showers still continuing. This will go through most of the day into the afternoon and then well into tonight. Highs of 28 and lows of 25. Taking a look then into Dar es Salaam at 27 degrees, it's mostly cloudy conditions, thunderstorms later with highs of 29 and lows of 24. In Kampala at 21 degrees, mostly cloudy conditions, highs of 25 and lows of 19. With rain expected most parts of the afternoon. The showers had begun in Joburg and they're still coming down at 11 degrees. We'll have highs of 14 and lows of 9 with expected thunderstorms later. Taking a look then into Lagos at 25 degrees, clear skies this morning, partly cloudy later on with highs of 33 and lows of 25. We'll round things up in New York at 7 degrees. The cloudy conditions have abated just a little bit, going through to highs of 18 and lows of 7. And in Paris this morning, it's cloudy conditions at 14 degrees, highs of 19 and lows of 11. And we'll wrap things up today in London at 8 degrees. The rain is coming down and it shall continue through the day into the night with highs of 9 and lows of 6.
Everything nice. All right. Okay.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
The tables within the dining areas must be spaced at least 1.5 meters apart from each other, and customer sitting must also maintain the social distance that is required. We must maintain the social distances not just along but also behind. We have also said that this is not a license to start opening pubs.
Okay, so restaurants
it is not a license to start opening alcohol sale.
As you heard the CS saying, there are a couple of regulations. You know, the number of the hours that the restaurants will be open, what time does it open, what time does it close, what qualifies you to open. It's not just now that everybody can open their restaurant this morning. There are very many other measures on the government side. So first of all, you know, staff need to be tested. We ensure that all the staff are negative. Now, if we have not finished testing the medical workers now, anyway, let's say let's just say staff are going to be tested. Once your staff are tested, then you shall get that certification to now open a restaurant for seating clients, because restaurants can still be open as long as it's doing takeaway service. Remember, even the day before yesterday, restaurants could still open. The only thing is doing takeaway service. Now, what we're saying is now you can come in, organize yourself, make sure that there is proper seating that maintains social distancing all round, 1 meter apart for everybody all around them. Ensure that you have proper hand washing facility at the entrance to this facility. Ensure that your staff have been cleared and they've tested negative. All those measures still apply, but let's ease up some of these measures, because people are still going to work and gets to lunchtime and people are looking for places to go and eat and they don't know where to go and eat.
Kuna hiyo
shida. So this is why we're talking. The conversation that we were having yesterday, CT, of easing up some of these things to address some of the emerging issues that, we said close, but now here's feedback from the public.
So the opening up of these restaurants really then is for ease. It's for ease of necessities.
Yes.
Right? People need to go eat during lunchtime, whatever. But it's not really for you to have your social butterfly gatherings. What it is really is for necessity. So if you want to go with your friends to have a meal, forget about it. It's not going to happen.
If you can sit 1 meter apart, I
just
see
be
no
shouting
problem.
anyhow, then it's okay.
Yeah.
Right? And it's so, but still, you must all get tested and have
Workers.
a clean bill of health. The workers,
Yes.
you must all get tested and have a clean bill of health. Then the many questions will start coming in and rolling in now. Okay, so until that happens, then I cannot open. Is there somebody to come and check and make sure that I have done this? One worker here, one worker tomorrow. All of them on staff need to be tested. Is it a free test? Is the government going to do this for us? Do you see now? These are the questions people are going to be asking. Can my crew show up to wherever and be tested, and then we go back?
What do I need to show when cops come asking me for? What do I need to show?
Do I
to
have
prove?
a green band on all of my staff?
Yep.
Do we have a paper at the door saying that every worker here has been tested?
Do I get
and
a
we change it every day?
COVID-19
Like when you go
compliant?
to a forex bureau and the numbers change there, does it change every day when we say, okay, new staff tested, done? I mean, what?
You see, my concern when I talked about a lockdown was this: for people to actually abide by what we are being told willingly, there needs to be a change of mind. And I was arguing, has the mindset of the Kenyan changed? And I was saying, no.
The reaction to this tells you.
Did you see the
The
comments on
reaction
social
was
media
so
today?
alcohol is not going to be sold as sour. So what are the conditions? If you go into a restaurant and you order a meal, as you wait for your meal, you can order alcohol. As you're having your meal, you can order alcohol. 30 minutes after finishing your meal, you can still consume alcohol. All right. So you cannot tell me that I can't have my meal for 4 hours.
So I'm eating.
So I can be in this restaurant, which also sells alcohol, for 4 hours, because the people are not thinking about, okay, so what was the essence? There are very many who want to flout, who will think the only concern I have is I want to go back to drinking. So, now those are the issues that you were raising yesterday.
Yes, and then you're asking the question, all right? Even before we talk about eating, have we been maintaining social distance in public transport? because you are locked in this particular mode of transportation for a certain period of time with all these people here.
Yeah.
Has that been done? If you're waiting for the matatus, have we been maintaining social distancing?
On the queues.
Do we have any situation that clearly exhibits and indicates that Kenyans have been adhering to social distancing? In the quarantine centers and isolation, the time people are let out, are they adhering to this social distancing? And I was saying, we haven't gotten a handle on this yet.
But City, you yourself said that by and large, Kenyans are adhering to the regulations.
Eric,
by and large.
they are
There's a
adhering-
minority that's not.
They're adhering to the quarantine, the curfew. They are adhering. Within the estates that they live in, they're ensuring that their children are adhering
Yes.
to the things that are required.
Yes.
Now, if you notice the things that I have brought up, I brought them up because you do not get into the danger zone with COVID because one person is enough. You don't need two
One
or
person
three.
is enough.
Yes, this is really what I'm trying to say. It needs to be that one person is such a far-fetched idea that you even wonder where the person is going to come from.
Let's give it some perspective. All of this thing that we're seeing started with one person.
Yes. It's
All.
okay. It's okay.
One
but,
person.
But today, as we speak, all those things that you're raising, CT, they're still happening, all right? There are people who are not observing social distancing while queuing to board matatus. There are some people who are also not observing social distancing at certain hours, peak matatu traffic hours, getting into matatus beyond the allowable number. There are people who are not observing social distancing in very many places. People not washing hands. People not, wearing masks. All those things are happening. So does it say that because those things are not happening, we should continue punishing workers of restaurants
Eric,
or
see, that's
owners
the
of
point.
these businesses?
It is not punishing.
It's a punishment.
This
for
is
them.
prevention, Baba.
It's okay. It's prevention.
It's
But
being done badly, but it is not punishment.
if as a business owner, I want to ensure that all those things are going to happen in my premise, why wouldn't you allow me to do that? I'll ensure that I take my staff to Lancet. They'll get tested. I'll display whatever certification you want.
By the way,
I
in
will
case-
ensure that there is space around here for people to
Eric,
observe social distancing in my
This testing
premise.
for people who handle foods is called a food handler certification. It is mandated. It takes place all the time.
But that is a different one. Now this one is for COVID.
You just
they need
add,
to be tested
you
for
just add
COVID-19.
COVID to it. Remember, the health thing was to determine whether you are actually inhabited by some foreign agents that can be passed on,
Yep.
that can be messed up. COVID is just one more. Just add to it. That is always done. It's not new. What I am saying is the seriousness of COVID and the fact that the agent you need don't have to come in dozens. It's just one. And the only way that is managed is with a mindset. Now, I have been to 2 places where you take the lift, and I was fascinated by the way the ordinary lift taker is written only 4 of you. Man, me, I'm at the back observing. Someone else is told no. It's 4. We're already 4. Yes.
Don't come.
So people are serious.
And you can actually see them coming as a group. They enter, they say, no. You wait for the next one.
Wait.
Eric, it's not that I'm saying people are not serious. I'm saying we haven't gotten to the point where the seriousness is the norm. Please understand. Yani kabisa norm where we will be calling out. I'll give you an example of calling out. We don't usually call out people.
No.
So CT, and I'll come back to this and say, I operate a restaurant. I am very serious about the measures that have been put in place by government. I have had the new measures that have been put in place to allow me to continue operating my restaurant and also have clients sitting in the restaurant. I want to observe all those measures. I will put hand washing facility outside at the entrance. I'll ensure my staff are all tested and are COVID negative. I'll ensure that all of us are observing these measures. Sasa shida iko wapi?
Shida iko hapa. How sure are we they're going to continue maintaining those stuff? We start off well. They'll do all the testing. There'll be
Matatu
sanitizers.
started washing people's hands.
And matatus are still operating. None of you is saying stop matatus.
Yeah, but they're the ones who are giving me the reasons to say what I'm saying.
Take a look at traffic and then we come back with this conversation. 27 minutes to 10.
In terms of the safety within the restaurants, what we expect to see is that number one, that anybody walking into a restaurant must wash their hands first. They must sanitize themselves. They must have a mask. Restaurants that are going to open with people who have been tested, who are going to be COVID free. So if your persons have not been tested, you cannot open a restaurant, because it is very possible then for a person serving there to spread the disease amongst all customers.
Looking good, guys,
who walk
right
in.
around most
And
parts
this
of the
is-
city today. Not much in terms of traffic. We see a little bit of a hold up right around Cabanas. That opens up shortly, getting then to General Motors. You'll be fine. So it looks good. Like I said, everywhere, not much traffic. Spice of MKE if something does change, but for now, you shouldn't see any problems.
Traffic.
So just to get it right, and before we open up the phone line, 0719-01268, what are you guys saying? What are you saying, City and Ndu? That it was ill-advised to reduce the restrictions on restaurants?
Yes.
Omo, wait and see. You're going to have some rubbish happening in those restaurants. Now, you're the one who just said it. Now, can I eat and drink at the same time? Can a restaurant then become a bar?
But there's nothing
Can
wrong
I
with
serve
eating
drinks
and
here
drinking.
and there? Wait and see. People will now close their doors and things will be happening behind those closed doors that you don't expect. The nature of the people should be taken into consideration when you see, okay, an inch, 3 miles. An inch now, you say, okay, you're seeing it from the point of view from the business owner,
Yes.
which is all well and good.
And the workers in those facilities.
However, those who come to fraternize the business, with the business, those who come to buy, those who come to sit, they are the ones now that we are saying at this point there's a problem.
So ill-advised.
Yeah, I think so.
Let's
I really
ask.
do. Unfortunately, we are going to see a problem here.
Let's ask Blackwater in Mombasa.
How you guys doing today?
We're good.
We are
Not
very
bad,
well, thank
Blackwater.
you.
How are you?
I'm good. Let me give you a simple example, right? I'm in this industry right here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you hiring about 300 people, and right now we hear about 300 people that are not working.
Mm-hmm.
Straight up, they're at home. They've been at home for the last about a month and a half, a month and a quarter.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now this is a small business. Now when we look at the hotels, and then you do times every hotel and every kind of restaurant in Kenya. Probably we're going about 1.45 million people that are jobless.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I cited what this guy is saying. The thing is this. At the end of the day, we all have to be responsible. We open and we try to be responsible. None of us wants to get sick anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, so most definitely we will abide by this because we have lost a lot of money. Okay, and definitely we are going to follow the rules as they're supposed to. You see, okay, they're telling us test everybody for COVID and all that. You can't test everybody every day. You understand? The only thing you can do is have the temperature gun. And that's what you will be using every day. If your temperature is high, you can't come in. We have to let you know, hey, you might have need to go check yourself in. You know, but in reality, we cannot say we're 100% sure and everybody is going to be doing the right thing everywhere and nobody's going to be sick. That's not possible. Real.
But
Let's be real.
So you want those that want to abide to be allowed to given that opportunity to abide.
Let people do it and let people abide. That's
Okay.
it. And trust me, they will abide because nobody wants to be shut down.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you,
We will
Blackwater.
abide, definitely. Okay, guys.
Thank you. Daniel in Kisumu, good morning.
Good morning. I think we're just having a totally wrong approach when it comes to our fight against COVID-19.
Why?
Look at the point we were when we closed these things. Where are we right now when we are opening these things in terms of infections? How many active cases do we have right now, and how many active cases did we have then? What data is informing the decision to open back restaurants, other than the fact that we are trying to protect businesses? And what makes the restaurant businesses the only important businesses to open? I'm the general manager of an events company. We have over 40 employees in Nairobi and Kisumu.
Yep.
We've been shut down like from the first day the first case was announced in this country. we shut down our operations.
True.
Yeah, so
But-
everybody is taking a hit. All
Daniel-
industries are taking a hit.
Daniel-
You're telling people,
Daniel,
yes.
Daniel, you sound like you're saying, just because my business has not yet been opened, let none be opened.
No, what I'm saying is this. Look, guys are going to go into those restaurants, right? You've tested the people working at the restaurants.
Yep.
Have you tested the guys coming into the restaurant?
The patrons,
Have you tested them?
they're observing social distance as
What-
long as they're here.
One of the measures that the government is saying is that wear your masks when you are in public. Are they going to wear their mask when they're eating? There is data that's out here from the WHO and several health organizations that says that wearing that mask protects everybody else around you. And the virus can float on air. Are we going to risk
So,
the
Daniel,
lives of Kenyans
if you don't mind
and,
me,
and risk an explosion of this thing just because we want to protect jobs?
allow me to...
Everybody's taking a hit. Let everybody take a hit all the same.
I hear you. Allow me to engage you for a bit. So, number one, so once these restaurants are open, now you're in the event business. When we start opening up hospitality and it works, don't you see that also events are also going to get some reprieve?
I think it's too early.
It's possible that you come back to work. I hear you complaining, yes, that, and it's true. I know. I'm in the communications industry as well, and I know the kind of heat that we've had. Now, when you start opening up some of these hospitality businesses, it becomes progressive. If people observe the measures, if I run a hotel and I've opened up this hotel, and the patrons who are coming into this hotel, everybody is sitting 1 meter apart from everybody else. Remove your mask, eat, wear your mask, go.
I think
But
Daniel
Eric,
is also asking why
what
was the decision
happens-
taken
what-
for restaurants.
But wait, what happens when it doesn't work?
We'll
Is
close them
that
again.
much? Is that a bigger risk? What's the kind of risk we'll have? Look at Uganda right now.
Daniel, can I ask you a
Uganda-
question? I hear you asking why was the decision taken for restaurants to be opened and nothing
Or for-
else
First of all, no,
No,
go
or
further.
for any sort
What
of
decision
business
was
to be
made to
open.
shut them,
to shut them in the first place? Is
Yes.
that the question you're asking?
Yes. And what has changed that we are now opening them. Look at Uganda. You know, Uganda has not implemented these half measures. Look at their numbers.
Right.
Very soon they'll just be able to close their borders and open up for business. Why can't we just make decisive action? Even if it's going to be painful in the short run, but in the long run it's going to help us. Uganda is going to be fully open for business way before we do. Why? Because we have insisted on these small measures that actually do not reflect into any positive impact when it comes to the fight against COVID-19. Let us be realistic.
Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you, Daniel.
Enoch in Kiambu.
Eric, good morning.
Good morning.
Very well. How are you?
Very well.
Good.
And the other gentleman and a lady, how are they doing?
They're fine.
The gentleman and the lady are fine. And how are you doing?
I'm very well.
Thank you.
I will take you back a bit because I think you are eating Kenyatta University for no good reason. Kenyatta University, all public universities, they are not public per se. They are independent institutions by the way they have been chartered. And they are run through a charter, and in fact, they don't take instruction from the national government. They don't take instruction from outside the Senate. And also construction of the Kenyatta University Hospital. The money was sourced by Kenyatta University from either donors or from other sources. It's not actually funds of public, which was put there.
Sawa.
So I think when you are talking about university, it's not another institution like the way we have Kenyatta Hospital. These are two different things altogether.
Enoch.
Yes.
Kenyatta University Teaching, Referral and Research Hospital is a national referral hospital. I think that we need to get that very clear. It is a national hospital. And if you look at all the adages to it, it is in the sector of geo.ke. anything that it has along those lines, it is a national hospital. So it is also along the lines of a parastatal. It is a national
Who runs the
hospital. It
university?
goes
Who runs
along
the
with
hospital?
government. It is co-run by the university and the government of
And the
Kenya.
government. There was a conversation around this, Enoch, at the point of opening this facility, and where the government came in, and it's now been linked as a national referral hospital. And
Probably have they
also-
cleared all the protocols
and also
which will have to lead this?
second to that, Enoch, this facility now, when people are being taken to it, they're being taken to it by the government. That means even if you said that the structure, the building is owned by the university, which is separate from government, the isolation center is being managed by the government.
I do want to agree with you, but is the government facilitating in keeping these people there, or they are using the institution's facilities?
That is why
We're all asking the question, and we're looking to be clear on that.
Then
and that's why we're saying a point of clarity needs to be made and maintained as to whether people then who visit the hospital as patients in this isolation center are going to be paying, it being seen as a private facility or a government facility, taking into consideration that it is a national referral hospital. And even upon its opening, it was then deemed as a joint partnership between the government and Kenyatta University.
Joint partnership. You use the word joint partnership. So it means it is not partially public institution.
It is a fully national institution.
Okay. So let's even separate any other services that this hospital offers on a regular basis, dialysis, treatment for cancer. Let's set those ones aside. That's a conversation for a different day. Isolation for COVID-19 is a government job. That's what the government is doing at KU today.
I do agree with you.
So government.
So I think
argument is that the government should be footing that whole bill. We have paid.
I do agree with you in totality, but now the university is taking the heat.
No, university doesn't come into play here. The university doesn't come into play here
they
at all.
deflect the heat. If they're feeling that they're taking the heat, and justifiably, let them direct the heat to the right place. They don't have to take that.
I agree with you. I agree with you on that one.
Thank you, Enoch. Benjamin in Narumoro, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
How are you guys?
We're fine.
Well, thank you.
Okay, I want to digress a little bit today. And I want to talk about this COVID in future. Globally, I don't think people are addressing this problem the way it should be addressed. I want to compare COVID-19 as a measure of retaliation from Mother Nature. This Mother Nature happens to be a very, very benevolent person. But the moment you mess her up, then she also messes you up. Now we have this COVID-19. We are handling it, trying to combat it at the moment. But who knows what is going to happen 4 or 5 years down the line? We might have an even bigger problem that is not even being addressed. People being, or rather governments, are they preparing for the future? Now, what I want to say here is that Mother Nature is, if city can complete this for me, hell has no fury
like a woman scorned.
Now, nature has been scorned.
How exactly has nature been scorned?
Look at the emissions that we, the industries, the emissions into the atmosphere. If, as of today, U.S. has been on lockdown for about a month or so, and they say that the emissions have been cut down by about 7%. If I take you to India, you know that river called River Gange. Okay, many people call it Ganges, but it is actually Gange.
Okay.
It is known for pollution. That is what it traverses India, and it has been known for long. For the longest time possible, if I can borrow from city, for the longest time possible, it has been known for pollution. Today, as we speak, the waters of the river Gange are actually safe for drinking. And for how long has India been on lockdown? Some of these effects that we're getting from some of these viruses and other funny diseases are just a retaliation by Mother Nature. So I'm thinking that globally,
So,
government,
please allow me to interrupt you here. So, what are you saying?
Yes.
Mother
I'm
Nature has
saying-
decided to kill people?
has given us a warning. This is just a warning. And, like in a game of football, where you first have the verbal warning, the yellow card, and then the red card.
So this is
now
a verbal
we've
one.
had the verbal warning.
Okay.
Yes. Next time round, it's going to be a yellow card, and then it will be a red card. I think we should look into the future and see how we can cut down on all these harmful effects on the environment.
Point made. Thank you very much, Benjamin. Have a good day in Narumoro. 10 minutes to 10. This is a situation room, Kenya's biggest conversation. Was it ill-advised of the government to ease up some of these measures, especially now when you're saying, let's reopen the restaurants, let's allow patrons to come and sit in a restaurant and have their meal, as long as some of these measures have been instituted. 0719 012 600.
Spice up your life.
Restaurants will operate between 5
You know, the issue here is
and 4.
you must ensure that the staff are tested. Now, as with all things coming very well done from the war room at the NAC, the National Emergency Response Committee, very well done, very well discussed, and these are the protocols, follow them. Now, the people who should be coming up with, so how do we implement this? This is where the gaps will be.
Eric,
how do I know that the staff in this restaurant
have actually
been tested?
Eric, let me take you further back. Before all this lockdown
as far back as
down,
possible.
No, just not too far back. We were actually moving slowly, and you were allowed to go to restaurants. We were going. Like, I had some tea I used to drink with a friend of mine every Sunday morning, and there was social distancing. Then there was reason and there was data that got the government to arrive at this point of saying, no, folks, this isn't working, let's shut it down. My question was, has it changed?
No, it hasn't. But now we are wiser.
No, we're not.
Like you keep saying, we learn. Now we are wiser.
Sorry?
We know that if you have this 1 meter distance, if you observe this social distancing, and it's actually possible for you to control that in a restaurant.
What is even interesting, Eric, the data we have is the one which actually tells us we shouldn't open at all. because the numbers of people infected has increased, the number of people who've died has increased. That information, if I interpret it correctly, this is really not the time for you to open it up.
If data is being used to inform decisions, if information is being used to inform decisions, it seems to me that it was a backward decision to take. Because at the point when you were closing these restaurants, how many cases did we have? And that time has gone, and we have easily 300 times the number of cases.
We went into very
and then
tough
we're opening
measures,
them.
and the government keeps telling us this.
Of which they were followed and adhered to?
It's because of the tough measures that we're where we are. All right?
It's because
the numbers could have been worse.
And I'm saying it's because of them maintaining this or making it tougher that we will be able to roll back this particular tide.
Oscar in Ngong.
Yes, sir. How are you?
Mimi niko poa. Odijua nakataa story ya nini restaurants.
Mimi niko na mwalimu bwana.
Thank you Oscar, ujambo lakini.
Jambo mwalimu, habari ya masiku?
Baba nashukuru. Na nashukuru sana kwa kwanza kukusikia. Asante.
Amina. Now,
uko mzima lakini?
Nashukuru, alhamdulillah.
Asante.
Sasa, what I would wish to say is, just to pick from the last statement that Lou made, that data should inform our decisions. Earlier on when this issue came up, and of course every other person was giving their view that this can work, that can work, do garlic, do this. The scientists would always tell us what scientific proof is there that this works. I'm so surprised that the same scientists are now trashed data and statistics and now are looking at emotions and the fears that they have. I wish to agree with the gentleman who called from Kisumu and talked about his company having shut down completely. Because when you look at, I was listening to this speech by the New Zealand Prime Minister when they were slightly easing their restrictions. If you compare their numbers and what we have, their resources and what we have, and the fact that they are still haven't eased the issue, the restrictions on restaurants, they are at the same point where we were, where you can go into Java, pick your takeaway and go. And with much restriction, the numbers, the spacing, tell me how you can go into, first and foremost, the CS is saying that a table will be 1.5 meters away from the other. Tell me which restaurant has that space. Even those who are up and about to say that they will do it, they will do it. I think it's just an avenue that they are looking into getting back into business, but this is going to get us into big, big problems. I would rather we hold on to where we are. Making it much stricter may hurt us severely because first and foremost, we have not changed our culture to be able to follow instructions. If you go into the public transport system, I think that is where the government ought to focus and where management is not easy. Leaving restaurants to do takeaway is a very easy job, and
Oscar.
they have been doing.
Oscar.
Yes, sir.
Do you follow instructions?
Yes, I do.
Do your friends and people within your network follow instructions?
Yes, they do.
Then let's operate from that point. Let's not point at
Yes.
other people. Let's just say if you and your networks follow instructions, the people, the places that you frequent. Let me finish, Oscar.
Yes.
The places that you frequent, the places that you go for lunch, a restaurant that you'd go, is the places that you and your networks would go to. So if you and your networks could follow the instructions, then see, we are sorted.
So now, unfortunately, this situation will not work that way because if we go by that, then Oscar and his friends would form a tiny minority of the population. And in this case, what should inform our moves and our decisions is what is the general behavior. What is the general behavior? Yeah. And the general behavior is such. Have you seen in other countries people sneaking through borders? Have you? You pick it from that point. Have you seen them? So there are certain things that should inform what to do and what not to do.
Sawa, Oscar.
Kenyans go into pubs and lock themselves in. Je, kukitokea moto?
Oscar, ni sawa.
Thank you, Oscar.
Ni sawa. You guys, condemn you don't want businesses to work.
Thank you, Oscar.
Asante, Oscar.
Thank you, Oscar.
Coming to the end of the show, thank you very much for joining us this morning. Let's talk about today's proverb.
He who is unable to dance says the yard is stony. If you look at our country, one of the things that you will find is that we have very many stony surfaces. If you look at what we're discussing right now, someone will tell you, but you see, what has happened is that people will maintain social distance. You ask, okay, the evidence that you have to actually ascertain that what you're saying is true. Well, you see, as I have said, so you realize, okay,
there's nothing here.
We've stuck to a certain point of view and we're not going to move. The truth of the matter is this. There's a reason why our restaurants were open. There's a reason why we shut them. The earth wasn't stony. We are the ones who decided it is stony. We couldn't dance. We were dilly-dallying and we were trying to find uses and means by which we could justify our inability to dance. And we just keep saying the same thing, coloring it differently. It is stony.
Sawa.
Acquiesce.
No. I'm like, okay. Restaurants will be open. We'll see what happens. We'll be proven right. Say goodbye, Ndu.
Bye.
See you tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll discuss schools. We'll also be talking
Yes.
to some of the envoys in this country. Good morning. Thank you very much for tuning in. Join us again tomorrow, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. It's now 10 o'clock.